Township of Cohasset regular monthly meeting, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025.
Notice has been given, where are we doing it anymore, Wanda? At,
Wherever we're legally.
At the Star Ledger of the Express Times.
okay, so it's still there. If we could all stand for a moment of silence, please, and a flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody get a chance to look through the bills list? Is everybody?
I want to compliment, we got them early and I could go through it, it was wonderful.
But you said that they won't come.
I make the motion we approve.
I need a minute.
Hold on here, Kevin's got a.
Jeez, come on now. I thought, Wanda, did you say something that the work?
I said I didn't have the minutes.
Oh, I thought it was, all right, I have to go back and take a quick look.
You want me to come back to that, Kevin?
Yes, Mayor, if you don't mind, I apologize, everybody.
All right,
2 weeks early.
Jeez.
so we'll,
Oh, 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
we'll table them for now. Public comments, we have one young lady here that would like to make a comment. You want to come forward, sign in? You know who you are. To the right over there should be a sign-in sheet. That way you don't have to stay for the whole meeting if you do not care to.
I appreciate that. Okay, I'm Gail Smith, I live at 80 River Road. I'm here to talk about two things. First is our power. We had 29 power outages last year, some of them for days at a time. We're on either 14 or 15 this year, we just had one this evening. And I've been complaining to BPU, JCCNL for years and years and years. And it's just gotten to the point it's out of control. So, but I've heard, they told me that they're working on a project to, loop the line and get us better power service.
From what I understand,
Well, let me finish.
okay,
So, what I'm here to ask you guys is, they told me, when they told me about this project, that one of the things that could hold up the project is, getting the permits and whatever they need from the town. Now, I don't know what the permits they need, other than maybe a road opening permit, whatever. But what I'm asking you guys is, we gotta streamline these permits and get this thing done, because I can't live like this anymore.
wait, for overhead lines, they don't need a permit. Right. It would
No,
only be if they had to go
told me
underground.
Some of these lines are gonna be underground.
The only reason they would
Well,
need a
whatever.
permit would
They
be to
told
dig the
me-
road up.
They told me that we're gonna need permits. So,
Well, we can
whatever,
expedite
if
those
they
as soon
don't
as they
need
ask.
permits, that's great. But if they do need permits, I am requesting, begging that they be streamlined and put through so we can get this problem fixed. I mean, this is out of control.
I had heard yesterday that they're supposed to bring the power, instead of coming down off the mountain, I guess is the way it comes now. They talked about bringing it from Pennsylvania somehow over, and that way, that it would be more reliable than the source from where it's coming now. I will follow up tomorrow with my liaison back to JCP&L. She's really good.
Well,
Yeah.
she's not really good, she doesn't call me back.
Is this Amy Oberman?
Yes.
Yeah, she's pretty
Yeah, but
responsive.
she's only to us. She doesn't take calls from,
No, she called,
people.
she called me one time, but then
Did
she
she?
doesn't call me back.
well,
But, so whatever, I know you guys have a better response to people like that. Then I'm just asking you guys to tell whoever reviews these permits, because some of it's gonna be underground, that's what they told me, that any permits are streamlined as quickly as they can go through.
if they
That's what I'm asking.
DCA, they wouldn't get involved either, right?
I don't think so.
Well, I'm not, like, why are we arguing about it? If they're.
No, I'm just trying to see where the permits, we don't issue any.
whatever.
state doesn't issue
I
any.
don't wanna argue about it. I'm asking you.
We'll
if
do
there-
whatever we can to streamline the process.
Thank you. Okay, the second thing I'm here for is the litter on the road. Now, one of my, retirement projects is cleaning up the litter, and it's ridiculous. Every single day, at least, there's a couple new, litter, and including at least more, beer bottles, there's airplane bottles. That means people are drinking and driving constantly. Like, if you don't care about the litter, whatever. But I thought people aren't supposed to drink and drive. They're drinking and driving, and they're throwing the things out the window, and then I come along and pick them up. And then, it's not only a litter of containers and other whatever, fast food, whatever. Now it seems to be a toilet too. So a couple whatever months ago, I'm like, oh, there's a Dunkin' Donuts a cup. We'll go pick that up. Well, there was human feces in it. Well, so how did I know it was human feces? Because there was soiled underwear right next to it. I mean, this is just like, it's everything. It's tires, mattresses, fast food containers, liquor bottles. It's disgusting.
Do you feel as though the litter's being done as the cars go through?
Yes.
Or do you feel like there's people using it to dump stuff?
No.
Or is it people that's parked there for, longer periods of time, you think that are doing it?
It's all
All of the above?
of those
It's a
things.
combination.
But mostly just, like, now that it's a little cleaner, because I've been doing this for several years now, at least in my stretch, which is basically the first mile of River Road from Rigglesville, it's cleaner, so I think people like maybe dump their stuff somewhere else. But, so I think at this point, it's mostly now the new toilet problem and people throwing their fast food and beer bottles and fireball bottles out the window.
Ryan, the only thing you could do, you'd have to catch them in the act if they were throwing it out the window.
Unfortunately, yeah. And
Cameras or not?
You're not
We're
supposed
very
to
legal.
litter. When's the last time you gave a litter ticket? And they're drinking and driving.
if it's a drinking and driving issue and the
Well-
police get involved, if somebody were to call, which people have, or if we happen to be in the area at the time, it'll be addressed accordingly. I can tell you that much.
It's
I
just.
sympathize with you, I get it. I live in a development and I have beer bottles and
Well,
garbage in my neighborhood.
what are we doing? We gotta do something about this.
Do we have any
Who are
signs up,
these
Ryan, in that
people-
stretch
Who
or
are
not?
these people that
There
are
are signs for littering
especially?
and with the fines and stuff along the
Yeah,
road.
yeah, we had a problem with some of the people that were camping out there.
Well, that was the issue with the
Yeah.
overnight fishers and the
Yeah.
people fishing and camping out, and that was when the whole, permit,
And the permit, and we put the
put
signage
the
up.
signage up and put, we had to issue
There.
permits for overnight parking.
Yeah.
If you had about, it was all part of that big, it lasted for a couple of years, and it seemed to deter or curb most of it.
Well, maybe in that one section where they
Yeah.
dump their stuff after they party all weekend, but I'm telling you, there's garbage all along the road.
Tell the folks, but we're not doing it.
Yeah, it's just that they're not even issuing permits for that anymore. So
Nobody
you can't
comes and
even-
asks.
You can't even go down there, because nobody even comes and asks for
Right,
it
right.
anymore, so we haven't issued
We
a
made the
permit
bar
in years.
so high that people.
Yeah,
got
people just stopped coming.
Plus, the
It was a great deterrent
railroad,
for us.
said you're not allowed to cross over the tracks too.
Right,
Correct.
We were allowed to enforce that.
Correct.
right, we did work that out.
I will look into some additional signage, and getting back to the power issue, I'll call, like I said, Amy Overman tomorrow and see what she's got to say. But I had heard through other sources that they were talking about rerouting the feed for where you guys are fed from, because it's been such a problem. And I get constant calls from you and the fellow there on the corner of Pinter's Point River Road. Powers, it's just,
I'm
it's too much.
asking you if there's permits to stream.
I can tell you right now,
I'm asking you.
there is nothing they need from us. Am I right, Wayne?
Unless they dig up the road.
Unless they
I
dig up the
process
road.
those
They
in a
told
day.
me they were gonna dig up the road, so
Okay,
why
that's
are we
great.
arguing?
We're not arguing. We're trying to all talk to you and resolve this issue. All I'm saying is, if a road permit comes in, which it has not, I will process it in a day.
That's what
That's
I'm
all I can
asking
do.
for. That's what I'm asking for.
Ron, Chief,
Yes,
we used to have inmates come from.
Correct.
Have we done that in the past few years?
that was the community labor assistance program with
Yeah.
the Owen County
Yeah.
Jail. With bail reform and criminal reform, unfortunately, they don't have that many people in the program that they would have.
I found needles too, needles,
Yeah, that's not.
like, it's disgusting. And so, you know, being
No.
told like, oh,
We
there's
have-
nothing we can do about it, is kind of frustrating. I'm just
I
telling you,
I can reach out.
very frustrating.
And I understand, and believe me, I sympathize with you, listen, it's been an issue for years, it comes and goes,
I know, but no, it doesn't come, it doesn't go.
it comes in waves. So, I can reach out to the county jail, to see if they have any people that are registered in the CLAP programs. I can ask, I can't guarantee you anything, but I
I
can
don't
ask if
want
they
them to
have.
clean it up, I want the people that are dumping this stuff to stop doing it. It's not supposed to happen. This, like, do these people do that in their own yard? I mean, it's
I don't
not
know, I don't know
right.
who they are.
It's not right. So whatever. I mean, thank you for listening
Chief,
to
I
my
just-
rant.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. The mayor and I were just chatting, and it said, you know, obviously, we can't do any camera stuff for any moving violation. But for a municipal ordinance violation like litter, theoretically, we could. So I'll leave it to you and the mayor to discuss that, because
Sure.
even just a couple cameras and a sign saying you're under video might help a lot.
With
But
a,
that
with
we,
the deterrence.
yeah, and that we can do for municipal, we can't do it for anything under a moving violation
Correct.
statute. Title 39 is
Title
out.
39, yeah,
But
yeah,
litter's a municipal ordinance.
yes.
So, man, maybe, and I bicycle down there, I see what you're saying, in the summer, my girlfriend and I come over the bridge from the inn and do that whole road. And, sometimes it's really good, and thanks for picking up, and, sometimes it only takes like one bad apple, and they just can make that whole road look terrible in 5 minutes.
I can give you plenty of examples just in my career alone that I've actually issued numerous of them, because that's one of my pet peeves, is when I would see somebody throw something out their car window. Cigarette butt to a wrapper for a cigarette pack. I've seen people cleaning out, they pull over, they clean their cars out.
Oh, I know.
And I've already issued citations and municipal ordinances for that, because I'm with you, it's not enjoyable for the community, it's not enjoyable for you.
Chief, maybe we can see, maybe there's even a little grant for a couple cameras for litter or something. And you know what we could do, by the way? We don't have to take that out of our direct budget, we could probably take that out of clean communities. Yeah, so,
Yeah, we can definitely try something.
and we're always looking for something to spend that money on anyway.
Right.
Just a couple cameras with, hey, you're under video might knock a lot of that down. So
I like the video idea.
yeah, we'll look into that for you.
Well, we-
They'll
we-
really like throw the beer bottle against it.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you
A
cleaning
little,
it up.
little, then we can hide them.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Have a
Thanks
good
for
night.
coming.
Thanks for coming.
All right, we're gonna shift things around. Here we have a young lady from, oh, you wanna go back to it now? All right, everybody has a chance to look at their bills. Kevin's reviewed. Anybody have any amendments or questions?
I don't, I make a motion to approve.
Second, Melvin.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Actually, you want to probably call a roll, didn't you, Wanda?
That's okay.
All right. All right, we're gonna shift things around here. We have a young lady from, Frenchman Carrillo, gonna give us a stormwater management presentation for watershed improvement. I believe this is something that has been started. We had a grant to
Yes.
fund some of this.
Yes, this was done through Highlands Grant that we received.
Yeah, and I had met with a young lady probably a year and a half, 2 years ago on this. And then she sent 2 engineers out and they went around and looked at all the problem areas that I was concerned about.
Okay.
If you said her name, I would remember, but I'm not.
That was Laura.
Laura, yes, you're right.
Yeah, so those are actually two different pots. This is our compliance with the MS4 permitting. And so we got the Highlands grant to do all that work that the state was putting on us, for compliance with that. What that grant was a separate one. I think that was by the Watershed Association, just so that we can make improvements. And I think they do marry up, but this is more of a permitting issue.
Oh,
But
okay.
they are related.
My apologies.
Yeah, so what I'm going to be talking about here is the watershed improvement plan. This is a three-phase, this is phase one, where somebody's supposed to host a semi-annual meeting to try and improve the health of our water quality. God.
Sorry about
That's
that.
all good, I was watching that too. We're supposed to address any water quality and flooding issues that affect Cohasset. So let's start, I'm gonna try not to be too boring here on my little, PowerPoint presentation that I printed out for you guys, which should be on your desk. So why am I here? I'm here because I'm the stormwater coordinator, well, I think Wayne's actually the stormwater coordinator. We
I'm
have.
sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Oh, sorry, I'm Stephanie Williams.
Stephanie Williams. Thanks, Stephanie.
Apologize. And this is part of that MS4 permitting system, like I said. Now, just to be clear, I am not an environmental scientist. I am not an LSRP. So there are a lot of questions on here that I cannot answer for you guys, but we do have resources that can help out with anything further than that. So what are the goals here? We're here for education, just to let you guys be aware of what is affecting the waters of Cohasset and what might be affecting it. Information, I want to get your input as to, what areas are you guys concerned with? What kind of pollutants are you concerned with? What do you guys want to address? What kind of flooding issues do you guys have? And last but not least, partnership. This is a partnership. You guys tell us what to do, and we're gonna, work on the issues that you guys want to address. Move on to the next one. So one thing I want you guys as stakeholders to try to think of is, what do you guys want? Do you guys want a goal? Do you want a mission, or do you want a vision? So things to think about is, what kind of education do we might want to present to the public? And who's going to do this education? Do you guys have an environmental committee that you guys can use as a resource? Do you want to try to use watershed ambassadors that are funded through the state and through Rutgers? Different potential there. What kind of reductions are you looking and aiming for? Do you want, what kind of projects can you think of that we could possibly do? And where do we want to do these projects, which is a resource question. And also, where are your flooding issues? Let's address that as well. Restoration, what kind of restoration work do we do? Like I said before, increased partnership with watershed ambassadors, increased public education, cleanup, those types of aspects that we want to try to investigate. And protection. Do we want to also perhaps have some sort of advocacy and go into other towns, which, by the way, the other towns can come to this public meeting and talk about to us, hey, we really guys think you should be addressing this pollutant because we're not the cause of it, or that type of issue. Moving on, let's take a look at our water bodies map. We have 3 C1 streams. We have Cohasset Creek. We have I apologize, I'm not from this area, so Musconetcong, thank you. I'm gonna say that wrong this entire time, just to give you a heads up.
Just say musky.
Musky, will do. And we also have the, Delaware River, that comes through here. So we have a lot of C1 streams that run
There's the
through.
Lopakron Creek as well.
Yes, the Lopakron Creek as well, thank you. So this is also a presentation to give to anybody who's not very aware of these types of streams. The C1 streams, they're supposed to be, full of environmental resources, and they're the highest protected streams. So these are the areas that, NJDEP kind of, they really are stronghold on, and they're trying to protect these streams. So, some of the areas that, we might want to think about any projects or any cleanup activities or any education activities that we might want to incorporate into this watershed improvement plan. So let's take a look at the C1 streams. Cohaston Creek from River Road to Ravine Road, Cohaston Creek from the northern border to Cohaston, to the north border of Alpha Borough, and the Muskie River along the southern border of Cohaston Township. So those are the areas that we're looking at. So what kind of pollutants are we looking at? This is, we're going to look at TMDLs. TMDL stands for Total Maximum Daily Load. This is a standard that somebody said that this is the most amount of a pollutant you can have in the stream before it starts to become a health hazard. And when a body of water exceeds these calculations, it's considered impaired, which is another reason why a lot of, in New Jersey, all the towns are now TRAs. They're all impaired, or they have a pollutant. So let's take a look at the TMDLs that are affecting Cohaston. We have fecal coliform and we have mercury. If you look in the, let's see, that is page, yes, 5 of the pamphlet, slide 12. So the green is mercury, and the blue is fecal coliform. So you can kind of see, what really truly affects Cohaston. To give you a heads up though, mercury affects every water, but this particular stream was investigated, this watershed area was investigated, and was shown to have a high mercury content. So taking a look at fecal coliform. Fecal coliform comes from bacteria of warm-blooded animals. This is caused by septic system failure and animal waste runoff. So part of the TRA, the studies that they did, it goes more into this. I don't want to bore you with all of this wording here. But they're saying that, there's a lot of domestic animals, there's a lot of wildlife that could potentially be a cause of the, fecal coliform. Just check this out. There's, the higher density recreational area, the housing in Phillipsburg. They're saying that this area should be potentially investigated. Monitoring, this is how they found out that what exactly it is, and like I said, they're saying it's they being NJDEP is saying it's mostly coming, from animal byproduct and human waste byproducts. So potentially failing septic systems. So taking a look at the next slide, there's a lot of fun numbers on here.
Which slide are you on?
We are on, looking at 11.
I almost feel that monitoring is a cop-out. My speculation is you go to any rural town, you're gonna see the same exact bullet point there for every single one.
Well, I've done that already, and I completely agree. I'm also the engineer over in Hope and Hardwick.
Yeah.
And I do Blairstown, and I also do Milton. So, no argument for me on that one.
You said that mercury is prevalent also?
Mercury is prevalent worldwide. I will say that worldwide, the recommended fish intake is once a week. For fish in New Jersey, it's recommended once every 2 months.
So, I mean, was it just curious, these 3 streams, this particular area, is it this comparable to everything else, to all the others, or? I just was curious if you were saying that this area, these three streams were a little bit above.
They're the ones that they're trying to protect,
I see.
NJDEP is trying to protect.
Gotcha.
So each one of these areas is kind of a drainage area, just viewed from a big screen instead of, when you see one of the site plans, you see the little drainage areas. This is just a massive drainage area. They're taking a look at each little segment of these drainage areas that affects the creeks.
Gotcha.
So taking a, like I said, but looking at where is Pahacong, just want to make sure that's the wrong thing. Slide here. It says table 6. Pahacong Creek at Main Street in Phillipsburg, fecal coliform data. The main thing is I highlighted this, kind of telling you where we're at with the fecal coliform. The acceptable rate for fecal coliform is, I had it on here somewhere. I'll have to double check this, but I'm positive it's supposed to be at 100. So if you look, there's the highlighted TMDL number 2, the water management area. Keep going forward. It's higher than it should be. So it should be at 100 for that summer geometric mean. It's at 198. So it's twice the amount of what is.
What's interesting about that particular stream, it's on the northern border,
Yes.
and people are on the town sewers there, so it's not like it's septic systems causing this.
My speculation is it's because we're on the southern end of all of these, we're downstream. So a lot of that's collecting, coming through right
Yes.
down to us, going, and it's hitting us
We're
before
the
it hits.
headwaters of Low Pahacong. I'm talking about Low Pahacong,
Low path.
because
And she's right, all those houses up there are on septics and
Yeah.
city water.
Mhm.
There's no livestock up along, at least in our stretch up there.
Yeah.
I don't know how far that goes back, Wanda. It goes over to Maury's Acres. It originates, I think, somewhere on the other side of 57.
yes, it does, it goes on up Platinum King, right, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know how far. But there again, there's
You have cows
but
along that route,
they're, where?
on the farms, along 519.
Not in that stretch. There's horses there at Maury's
On
Acres,
the opposite side,
but that's it.
on the opposite side, there's the horse farm.
Yeah, the horse farm, but like I said, there's no cattle or dairy farms,
Veterinary hospital.
veterinary hospital up there. Because
That's
that's the same one that goes through the fairgrounds, I believe. then.
Yes.
If you follow it all the way up, I think so.
Yeah, but I don't know how far it goes. And there is cattle over in Harmony, but like I said, I don't know. But it is interesting that there's that high a fecal coliform level with all the amenities and such that are there.
So as far as we're concerned, like, what we can do about that is what?
I will divulge more into that.
Okay.
There are different things that we can do. One of them is to encourage the agricultural practices to reach out to the Ag Board and receive grants to obtain a stormwater management plan, because they basically can get a stormwater management plan for their agricultural practices pretty much through 100% grants. So there's things that we can encourage them to do.
Most all our local farmers know about those grants, at
Yeah.
least in our town.
Mhm.
We all take advantage of them.
Which is fantastic. That is a perfect aspect of our watershed improvement plan that we encourage that, the farmers and agriculture practices to take advantage of, well, not take advantage, but utilize the grants that are available to them to help improve the water, so.
I guess I don't see much that we can do to Low Pahacong Creek, where it's located.
Like we just said, the one thing is we can encourage. That is a part of the plan.
Stephanie, can you help me out with the acronym or abbreviation MOS? It's in the columns headers at the top.
Margin of safety.
Okay.
Like I said, I am not an environmental scientist. I'm only trying to interpret what they have given me to try and, give you the most streamlined version of what they have. I could try to divulge more into some of these numbers, but I will be honest, a lot of these numbers I've had to dig back into my textbooks to try to figure out, what exactly we're looking at. So going on to the Muscatneck Pond, I'm going to call it the Muskie, at Regalsville and near Bloomsfield. So that's that bottom portion that I highlighted. That one again, people call it corn. It's predominantly, agriculture, some urban, older development on septics, forest. They again say, livestock, land application of manure, older septic systems, geese, beavers, all sorts of, animals that may be affecting this. Again, different strategies that they can use is agricultural BMPs, and maybe establish a goose management program, something of the sort. And there's, I believe, goose grants out there, and JDP has goose grants.
We have about 500,000 snow geese that come into the township in the winter, and
They
go on
from
the
the north.
fields, and they're there for a week, they go away, then they come back.
Yes, you can't hunt them,
No,
but
but
you can deter them. That's, I believe, the migratory bird law. So there are strategies,
okay,
yeah.
be interesting, to know
Yes.
what they are.
And to give you an idea on how this section is doing, I told you that the requirement is 100. The last one was at nearly 200. This one's nearly at 700. That's 100 milliliters or CFUs per milliliter, 100 milliliters. So it's very high. Looking at the Pahacon Creek at New Village, now this is in the center of Pahacon. That also, the fecal coliform issue. DEP is saying, we have livestock, poultry farm, land application, manure, geese, and septic systems. Kind of really pushing this geese aspect. And again, there's the same strategies that we can utilize to reduce those numbers. And that center place, again, also has nearly a 700 level.
Do they take those same bodies of water and, I'm sure they do, sample upstream further?
They do.
To try to isolate where the higher fecal load's coming in at? I mean, do they?
Yeah, they do. There's different stationing, water quality
I
stationing.
mean, for us, we're kind of on the end of both of those streams, so of course it's gonna be at its highest.
Yes, it is.
So it's not to say that the problem's coming from Hohakon. It could be coming from, 20 miles away.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, in the beginning of this, that was one thing wanted you guys to consider is maybe perhaps in order for NJDEP to, one of our watershed improvement is to have some sort of
I mean-
advocacy to other towns saying, hey, you're affecting our waters.
I would like to see like all these bodies of water sampled wherever they come into the township.
Okay, we could
I mean,
implement
that at least you would alleviate, or you would have an idea whether it's coming from our community or farther upstream.
Or at least how much we're
Right.
contributing.
Right, I mean,
We have wildlife, it's gonna happen.
right, to sample where they dump into the Delaware as a termination point and where they come into the community in our town. And then whatever the difference is between the two potentially is what's coming in from Hohakon.
And we could establish a goal if we want to at that point, to say, hey, this is our impact. I think our goal should be X, Y, or Z.
I mean, the amount of livestock in our town has gone down over the last 20 or 30 years. There's very few milk cows. In fact,
Now, to
I'd
keep
say
this,
there's a few beef cows and that's it.
to keep in mind too, on this watershed improvement plan, which I forgot to mention, is that this data runs from 2012 to 2002. So
Okay.
this is
Older
what
data.
we've been given. We've been given to do a watershed improvement plan with very old data at this point.
I know Rutgers does periodic sampling on the Powhatan,
Mhm.
because I'll get a letter once a year that they'd like to come on my property to pull the sample.
Mhm.
And from what I've talked to them in the past, they've seen an improvement in the water quality over the last 10 or 15 years.
If I could have those reports available, I would have implemented them.
Next time I get
But-
one of those letters, I'll try to get some information out of them.
And at that point, then we could say, hey, we improved it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing.
Look at these numbers, are fantastic.
But I know, at least with the Powhatan, they say that the microorganisms are coming back that are supposed to be in the water,
Mhm.
that the quality is better than what it used to be.
Yes.
I mean, I've lived on it my whole life. When I was a kid, I can remember soap suds coming down.
Mhm.
There aren't no soap suds anymore.
I recall somebody saying that they had never seen a pink swamp in the Muskie, and now they actually do see the endangered pink swamp in that particular river.
I assume
And
that's a
that's-
microorganism or an
It's-
invertebrate.
It's an endangered plant that
Okay.
we hate to hear that word as engineers when we're doing the site plan, because,
Yeah, that could make trouble for you.
yeah, it does, it makes lots of trouble. But that's what I've heard is that, and this particular endangered, plant is, very, temperamental when it comes to pollutants. So to hear that, a pink swamp is coming back is both frightening and also, from an engineer's perspective, and really great to hear from, a
Environmental
environmental
standpoint.
perspective.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Did you make a mistake, or you said your data was from 2012 to 2002?
Yes, it's very old, because that's what was available.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. That's where NJDEP pointed, their hand and said, go for it with this data, and so I went with it.
And who would pay for the stream monitoring, like with the mayor's suggestion about the entry point?
That is usually done by Rutgers. They have their own they have their own, program where they monitor all, the rivers. So that was done through federal grants. And now there's a whole system to that we don't deal with as a municipality.
Okay.
It's more of a state level review. So then that was that little part. Okay, so going forward. Same thing with Powhatan Creek at River Road. I'm just gonna skip over that one because unless you want to hear that all over again. But that one's at 544. Oh, here it is. I should have put that in the beginning. So applicable water quality standards, for the people call form. You can see where it was. I do apologize. It's a geometric average of 200. And we had one that was at 195. So it looks like one of them was actually fine, but for some reason NJDEP has determined that it's impaired. All right, let's talk about mercury. Now, if you look at the mercury, it's, like I said before, mercury affects all water in the world. NJDEP has not issued any ways to clean it. So it's more of an awareness currently than a project to clean. It's, like I said, mercury is developed throughout the world. It's a global issue. Here's the fun part. Most mercury enters the environment through gas or particulate form and is deposited on the surface, often through precipitation, which washes deposited mercury into waterways. So mercury and water are magnets to each other. Take it with what you will. New Jersey has issued statewide fish advisory for mercury because it's everywhere. Like I said, in that particular one, where I put, it's everywhere, it's everywhere. Mercury is everywhere. Mercury is persistent bioaccumulative toxin that can be found in solid, liquid, or vapor form. I'm sure you guys remember when you were sick, it was in the vial. So it even includes, included in volcanic activity. And I don't think there's any volcanic activity lately in Blackhawk. It's also used in dental procedures, which appears to be its main source. I won't divulge too much into this mercury, but to give you guys an idea of what the mercury content is, we have large bass mouth, bass mouth.
Largemouth bass.
Largemouth bass, sorry. Haven't gone fishing in a long time, ever since I was a little kid. But those are the rates that they did. Again, look at the years, 1992.
Wow.
John was born, August.
All right, so that's mercury. It's everywhere.
Did you say there's a standard for that? Like, we have numbers of what's in them, but is it safe, not safe?
NJDEP did not put a standard of what's safe and what's not safe. They just stated that you should really only have New Jersey fish once every 2 months or so.
Wow.
Catch and release.
Now let's talk about flooding. NJDEP is expecting flooding to worsen. The new design flood elevations have been raised by 2 feet. The stormwater requirements have increased to include future storms. And as I'm aware, we have implemented all these requirements. This is not a real picture, just to give you a heads up, but I really did enjoy it. So next image is a picture of where you have impervious area. Obviously, it's all, in the northern hemisphere of Pahakon. I'm going to skip over the impervious area map. It's just, it's a risk area where all the impervious area is. We have now a map of the inlets and outfalls, kind of like wherever all the water is accumulating. So with that flooding aspect in, I would appreciate, any, concerned areas where you used to have flooding, used to not have flooding, now there's flooding, where you would like to try to improve your flooding conditions. If possible, now you guys are anxious, it's out of the river, so it floods downstream. There's only so much that you guys can do, without knocking on your neighbor's doors and saying, hey, you're flooding Pahakon, what can you do about it? Particularly around those C1 streams, because those are, those large, streams. That is the end of my presentation. So right at this point, if I can get any input and questions you guys have, I most likely will not be able to answer them, but these will be questions that we put into the phase 2 of the watershed improvement plan. Hey, listen, Stephanie, these are the areas we'd like to take a look at. The watershed improvement phase 2 will kind of answer those questions. They will get potential sources of funding, whether that be Highlands grants, whether that be water bank, any projects you guys may or may not want, increase the advocacy in environmental committees, try to get the environmental committee to do more things, and, what kind of education, like I said before, you guys want to implement for your, farmers, for your general public. Those type of input is what I'm kind of looking for. Now,
I have input.
Yeah.
On the Lower Delaware Management Council, and we recently had a meeting, and we had a presentation from this Amanda Khalil, and she's with the the Delaware River Basin Commission.
Mhm.
She gave a presentation on chloride pollution.
Okay.
Salt. They monitor chloride levels, and they are seeking municipalities to participate in a proposed project to reduce chloride use in the winter. And municipalities interested in participating can contact Elaine Panuccio at the DRBC, and I have her website address. Is that something you're familiar with?
I'm not familiar with. I do know that NJDEP has been pushing for lower salt and lower chloride levels within, for all municipalities. They've been implementing stricter salt sheds. You guys, I believe, passed a salt shed ordinance for private salt sheds. So I'm aware of the program, just I'm not aware of the particular program they're speaking of.
I'm sorry, but Councilwoman Gray, I thought I heard you say induce.
I didn't use the word induce.
She said reduce.
You said
Reduce.
I'm sorry, I heard induce, I apologize.
Neighbor.
No, like induce, I was like, why would we want to increase chlorine? That's why I was,
No, this program is offering alternatives to using
okay.
that kind of thing, and I was gonna bring it up in my council report, but what an opportune moment.
There you go. Apologies, I misheard you.
And that is something we could definitely take a look at, see what kind of implementation.
I'll jot her, email address. Well, actually, what's your email, and I'll just zap you this,
How about I give you something better?
a business card. I can't get rid of mine.
I'll take one of them there too if you got an extra one.
Of course, I've got a couple of them in here.
I'll forward this to you. It's in, the latest, Lower Delaware April newsletter.
Okay.
It's right near the top, okay?
All right.
Thank you. Should have given out so many at one time, huh?
I have.
Oh, So Stephanie, I'm a data-driven person.
Yes.
And this data is very old, so I'm
Yes.
very cognizant of that.
Yes.
I really like the mayor's suggestion
Mhm.
about the potential for testing, about and what I would call maybe ingress and egress of the township
Exactly.
waterways.
Yes.
And we can, my speculation, and I think the mayor alluded to this, is that we're gonna already see improvement, just because we know that the number of large livestock
Mhm.
has reduced since that period of time.
Mhm.
And so, although maybe some of the deer herds have increased population, and as Councilwoman Gray said, if I look in my backyard when the snow geese come, they're everywhere.
I mean, there's also, just to give you guys more ideas for your watershed improvement plan, there is now a deer control grant. If you guys want more information on that one as well.
Does that mean hunting out of season? Because I think that would go over well in the township.
I don't know, but I can send you that grant information.
Otherwise, if they want the deer here so that they can have that for recreation.
I know the deer numbers have increased over the last couple of years. We're seeing far more than we used to, but the geese are just uncontrolled. That's the problem.
Yes.
Like Ingrid said, I mean, she exaggerated, but there will be 10,000 geese at one time in, certain fields and
And we do so much, there's so much crop farming here, they glean those fields.
oh, they
So
do.
after it's harvest, they see that, they zero in, and I know because I've got them on my left and my right,
Mhm.
and they just go right down and they'll be there, and you would think that you're in like Wild Kingdom, if that reference works for some of you folks, but it's just so loud.
Mhm.
In fact, I'm sure I still have a video on my phone on how it's just, I mean, it's beautiful, but it's just,
There's a lot.
there's a ton of it.
So some of the aspects we put in this watershed improvement plan is investigating deer control program, putting a geese control program involved.
But I would put at the top of the list of testing.
Oh, absolutely, I have it right there.
Because, we need, you can't base your, on data that's over 20 years old,
Yes, I agree.
you know?
I mean, there's an instance up there at like Walmart's detention. On any given day, there's 150, 200
You can't see the
geese.
water.
Right, and they're there every day. I think what we're kind of alluding to, there's two different kinds of geese. You have migratory geese, which are the white ones that come and go.
Mhm.
but we have a higher number of resident geese now, Canadian geese, that stay here year-round. And they're the ones that live in the creeks and in the detention basins and wherever. And that the pollution from them is astronomical, because they're there all the time.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think they need to kind of look more towards doing some kind of control of the resident population of the geese.
Okay.
Tasty. Oh, I don't know about tasty, tough as nails. You gotta cook them in the crock pot. Good jerky, you just gotta watch the pieces, though, you don't wanna bite all the pieces. I mean, I know there's a couple areas we're concerned about. The Lopakon Creek, I had expressed concern, there's not enough clearance at the bridge where, what is, at Huntington, what street is that, John?
Lock Street.
Lock Street, where the Lopakon goes underneath the bridge at Lock Street. Last time we had excessive rain there, the bridge backed up the water, and then it flooded the firehouse. There wasn't enough capacity under that structure to carry the water.
Isn't there, Wayne, we had that application where the cemetery guy came and testified about the pipe size?
We've got a few problems over there, like, one, we got back pitch pipes in the DOT road, which we know, and they're undersized. The pipes that go under that fellow's property are,
That's downstream of the firehouse.
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
But we're putting in a new complex up in there too.
Yeah, but
So-
the problem is that they're having difficulty with the DEP on how they're gonna get their permit and what modifications they're gonna have to do. There are things that could be done to improve the flooding there, but, through their study, but it's debatable at this point what the DEP is gonna ask them to do. But either way, I'd like to get whatever their final product is to understand what the study showed would actually improve the stream, whether it's something they need to do or not. Because at least then we would be able to say, if we were able to accomplish this through DOT grant, or make DOT do it, whatever it is, this would cut the flooding level down by 1-2 feet. I mean, that's what we were told. So that's kind of what we're waiting on with their permitting.
I mean, that was one troublesome area. The Powhatan Creek concerns me. There's a lot of additional stormwater coming into it from neighboring communities, from Alphaboro, from Greenwich Township. And it's all dumping down into C1 drainage ditch along Still Valley Road. And there's going to be more and more development out of our community that are going to end up in our drainage systems. And we don't really have any control. Kevin and I went to a meeting in Alphaboro 2 years ago, and we specifically asked the developer that the detention basin wouldn't impact our town. We were told, no, it won't, blah, blah, blah. We go over there, and the first thing I see is a 12 or an 18-inch pipe coming out of their detention basin pointed right at the township road. But I was told that that'll have will not have any more impact on the township road than it did when it was a farm field, which I find hard to believe, and I was told water was coming out of it the other day.
Water was coming out of it the other day.
How bad, Jeff?
It's like pouring down the edge of the road.
Like the full capacity of the pipe, or half the pipe, or?
Half that way.
Did they say that it was high enough though, allegedly, inside?
I don't
That it
know.
wasn't gonna reach that level?
Well, no, I was never told that. They just said that if that would come out of that pipe, it would have no worse effect on us than when it was a farm field. And like I said, I don't agree with that.
There's a company line there.
Did it
That
erode?
wasn't a real continuous couple of days of rain.
But my biggest concern is, I don't think the roof's tied into it yet. Do you think it is?
I don't think so either.
Right?
They just finished it, 2 weeks ago, the roof, 3 weeks ago?
Is the roof done?
I believe so.
Well, I don't know, but like I said, when that project is done, and we get rains like we did,
The parking lot's not poured yet either.
right. there's still all that impervious that's not impervious.
Well, I mean, and I don't know, but we'd have to look at it, but it could be set up now as more of like a sediment basin, and it wouldn't be operating the same way that it would when it's done, because they haven't installed the things that are gonna allow the infiltration and all the other things that are gonna cut it down. So this may be a temporary thing, it may not, and it's something that we should look into, to make sure it doesn't persist, and it is just a construction phase.
I mean, the problem where the water discharges is not Pohatcon, it's Alton.
Yeah.
It doesn't turn to Pohatcon until 100 yards down the river.
Right.
But anyhow, like I said, one of my concerns, at least me personally, is all this additional impervious surface that's being installed in our neighboring communities. It's gonna affect us.
Okay.
I mean, anybody else have any concerns? Like, that's my biggest fear, is all this development that's not in our town is gonna affect us. I mean, we saw it with the soap from the car wash years ago. I mean, that car wash has gotta be 3 miles from the stream, but it ended up in the stream. All right, what's the next step?
So the next step is I'm gonna take all of these concerns, and if you guys have any further concerns, feel free to give me an email, be as specific as possible. I'm gonna take all of this and then I'm gonna put it into a report, and this report is going to be a draft. This isn't gonna be a final report, so that way I can get your input, and we could, see what we need to put into this report, what doesn't need to be put into this report. And at that point, it will be kind of like a strategy report of what kind of projects do we want to do, what kind of education do we want to do to address these items that we talked about. It is with the areas that you guys are concerned with. I mean, I hear the deer, I hear the geese, I hear, advocacy in other towns that we want to probably get them to, make sure that they're compliant with their stormwater requirements. That's our next step, is a report of all of this tied together.
Yeah. What about, the mall on the low pack side, and that, potential new development?
Well, that's the one on the backside, it's all opaque on it.
Right.
I mean, that would affect us
That
as
would
well.
agree. So, I mean, that's again, it's, I think, that's why the
Rejected
testing.
at the Highlands right now,
That's a dead horse for
Dead
now.
horse right now.
Is it?
Yeah, that was not approved by Highlands.
They just need to get some different people.
I thought that's why they came back,
Trying.
and they came back.
It did, but that was also, it was rejected.
Shut down afterwards.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's farmland for now.
Okay, I'm gonna scratch that.
Anybody else have any questions? Appreciate it very much. If you have any questions, Wayne's got my number, just reach out. I'll be more than willing to talk more if you'd like to.
Thanks for the presentation, Stephanie.
Yes, no problem. Sounds like a plan. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Okay,
Are you doing this again for Blairstown next week?
I am doing this for Hope Township. They keep
You're not
rescheduling me
Hope,
around.
Blair-
Blairstown again, I'm like, yeah, I'll just give you your report, I'll take care of it.
They have to first, I've only gotten so far with them. They're kind of like, we're doing one, we're doing this.
that's probably about similar to Blairstown, aren't they?
Very similar.
I would think so,
Very
yeah.
similar. They got the Fallins Hill, they got tons of farming, tons of geese. Not as many warehouses and stuff up there, though. So they're a touch more isolated.
Maybe I should move to Blairstown. All right. We'll move on to attorney's report. Kevin?
Here real quick, Woodmont Warehouse, I don't know, I think that's what you're talking about, that the cemetery.
Yes, that's the one.
I followed up at your request, Mayor, with their attorney. I did copy Wayne as well. I think I finally copied you.
You did.
He promised to get us, he said they just worked out their flow with Alpha, and he's gonna be sharing that with us so we can do a calculation. So, That's the one we're looking to get paid for our connection. So that appears to be moving forward. I don't know why they're that far along in the building doing the sewer calculation with the Alpha, but that's Alpha. I don't know.
Now, they had that one on 7th Avenue calculated before it was even under construction.
Yeah, the only, like, I have a feeling they're just trying to cut their numbers down. So everybody, when they come in, if it's not a big deal, they just throw out a number that's safe, right?
To cover.
But, you know, but now that they're gonna come under, they're gonna actually look at it and try and say, okay, what are we really gonna do? So that they can save themselves some money on a lot of these fees. So I think they have a number, they're just looking to give you a more accurate one that doesn't hurt them, you know, on the bottom line.
Yeah, and they only owe us based upon what we're putting in the system.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but any event, that, they appear to be cooperating, so hopefully here soon we'll have that worked out. Again, they don't really need to pay us for the tie-in. The other one hasn't paid yet, they haven't tied in.
They haven't done the work yet, yep.
But at least we'll have the agreement. Just a quick note, all tax appeals that had to be filed by April 1. We got very few, at the county level, and I don't believe we got any new filed in the tax court. So, that's good news. I think, and I think so far, Jen's already skipped out a couple of the county tax board appeals. So it doesn't look like we'll have much activity on that end of things, which is a good thing. I did just text my former council member at Belvedere, who's doing our pickleball courts, just so he gave you a quick update. And Wayne, he said he'd be reaching out to you as well. He's about to start the fencing and the nets. He said it's still a little bit too cool to put down all the nice paint. But I'm hoping by our May meeting, we can get that done, because that's a reimbursement grant, so we gotta get reimbursed, which would be a whole nother can of worms, because I think that was Scotty logged in all that stuff, so we're gonna have to try to figure out how to get that stuff. So that's that one, yeah. Oh, I did also speak with Jeff Long and Ingerman. They did straighten out on a statewide basis that funding for this 100% project, so they're well along their way to that. So that seems to be going. And finally, I also got an email today. I followed up with Chris Costa at the Phillipsburg Mall. They got their pilot from the PACCON just earlier this month. So they're just waiting for the 45-day appeal here to run, make sure nobody files a private rent case, so that becomes a binding agreement. It's actually done by ordinance. As soon as that's done, I would expect them to probably be looking to draw permits by summer, which would be great. That'll throw a decent chunk of money into your Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We've made commitments to Ingerman. I guess that's about it for me.
Kevin, that Chris Costa's the Cubes, right?
Cubes, yeah.
They're filing a letter with the land use board to ask for a year's extension on their approval.
And I know they were asking for an extension simply because they did, I mean, the date was coming up, and I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's June. I mean, they
Well,
still,
Final
yeah.
approval's only good for 2 years.
Yeah, and it's coming up in June.
Believe it or not, we're almost 2 years into that.
Yeah.
That would be consistent with.
Yeah. I just thought I'd mention it for you.
Yeah, yep. That's about it for me.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Turn it over to Ann with our budget prep.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We're working on the budget. I'm meeting with the auditors on Monday to finalize the financial statement. As soon as that's done, we can finish the budget. I just need that data from them. We have some significant increases, unfortunately, that we can't fix, and some of that is with the pension, especially police, that's gone up to $71,000. There's not much we can do on that. The pension note for the regular employees did come down a little bit, so then that's about $50,000. The good news here is that the way that we do group health insurance here, it's only gone up a small amount. It's somewhat self-insured plus regular insurance. And because of that, the rate's only going up about 3 or 4%. The
It was
state
like
health-
30,
What's that?
I forget, it was like $30,000 or 35,000, I thought.
Right, it's.
Because there was some offsetting things there that went up, but then other went down.
Yes, and I'm looking at $13,000 total. Right now, what I'm looking at, it'll depend on what the 2024 comes back at. But I think we're in really good shape because the state health benefits went up 17%.
Yeah, tremendous.
Tremendous, a huge amount of money.
Will we be able to cover our increases, Ann, do you feel like with our tax levy or not? Like if we increase the,
I have to say, part of the problem was that your assessed value come down a little bit instead of going up.
right, because we had a couple of things we had to reduce the values.
So I have to see where it all shakes out.
When will you have an answer for us, do you
I
suppose?
definitely by the next meeting, maybe earlier. If I
Okay.
can get in early and we do something special to introduce, I'd love to do that. But you'll see more information from me before that time.
What's the deadline where we have to have it introduced that it's not
Past
gonna?
it. We missed it.
We
Well,
did?
we passed the resolution so that we could go past that.
Right.
It was April
March
1st.
31st, yeah, March 31st,
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to adopt by May 10th.
Yeah, it was May 10th. And we knew that was gonna happen, that's why you passed the resolution at
Mhm.
the last meeting to say we weren't ready. As soon as I know something from the auditors, I'll have an answer for you.
All right, I just don't wanna get in the same situation where we
Absolutely
gotta
not.
push that August tax back, to September or whatever.
No, no, me neither. So my goal would be May, to get it all introduced and on its way.
Okay?
That's great.
Yeah, well, I'd like it to be earlier, but.
Do we have any additional, revenue as far as ratables that we recognized that we didn't have last year?
No, it came down, actually. And you mean the levy side on the assessment side?
Yeah.
The assessment came down. Once the pilots kick in, you're gonna see a huge difference in your budget. Because we take that money in, it offsets your.
We
revenue.
can't rationalize nothing with Larkin until the project's complete, like 100%.
Correct. Yeah, I
We are,
think
we are
Kevin
getting,
could
we are
speak to
getting a few community impact fees in here, I don't know if we can.
But we just dropped that to the bottom line, as you
Right.
mentioned.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's good, it goes right into your fund balance.
So the first actual pilot payments, the actual payment in lieu of the tax. So this year, you're not seeing any tax from Larkin. And then at the end of this year, they have to give all their financials. I think, you in general, somewhat, I think that you are
Right.
paying for that. They will figure that out, and then that's what our percentage is calculated on. So I would say next year, we'll probably start seeing the first pilot payment.
Is that when it starts on the agreement? I haven't seen the agreement. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do an estimate and then shore up, but I don't know the agreement.
I'll send you the agreement. I mean, Jen has them all as well, but, I believe that first actual pilot payments in your budget should make it to the 2026 budget.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, while we're on the subject, Ian, do you wanna go over this business with the bonds that you talked to me
Yes.
about and the Phoenix?
Yeah, so, I spoke to John today, by the way, regarding the sewer, because we spoke about the sewer, I believe.
Yes.
Anything we decide to do, I think Wayne gave us an estimate, we can do an ordinance and we can pay it any way we want. Within the language of the ordinance, it says whether you do a bond, you can do cash, I&I, whatever we decide to do to pay it. So that's good. We'll just make it a straight bond ordinance when you're ready, if we decide after you're done talking about that. On the bond side, we have to see what the environment's like. When we started talking about doing this, we didn't have the issues that are going on at the Feds. I mean, we think the interest rates are gonna drop. In my opinion, we have to do the bond anticipation note, which is due, and that'll come up, I think it's October. Well, no, now and then paid in October off. When October comes, that's when we'll make a decision whether we want to permanently finance our outstanding debt. Because we're just right now doing notes. It's temporary budget, right? Temporary. So I think I spoke to you last time. Part of what Phoenix will do was assess the market. And I think right now, we don't know what the market's like at all. I am really not the one to do it.
I have had this polite dispute with Ann,
Yes, you've been-
a running dispute, and I will be perfectly candid, because I always am with you guys. I think this is a complete waste. And I also think bond counsel feels it is too. You guys are very, very modest issuer of debt. $2 or $3 or $4 million worth of debt is a drop in the bucket for an issuance. We've had John for 25 or 30 years.
John does not do this.
He does all of this.
He
John
does
is
not.
probably the best bond attorney in the state. He
Agreed.
charges you guys next to nothing. I've spoken with John too, because when I first saw Phoenix Advisors involved in the
They've done
emails,
this for us.
wait a minute, let me finish. They've never been hired as our municipal advisor, number one. That's why you all of a sudden have this resolution, because, so they're been encroaching on our bond attorney's expertise anyway. So now we're trying to correct this. We don't need advising on whether we're going to group a handful of bonds into a $2 or $3 million issuance. John Drakewitz can tell you what the bond market's like. Hey, it's good, bad, or ugly. Let's do it, let's not. He's done this 1,000,000 times for 25 years. If you have any questions, John comes to a meeting. Or I presume say, John, come to a meeting. Why would you pay several $1,000s a year? I understand you work with Phoenix and your other municipalities. Everybody likes to work with their preferred people. But this is an extra layer that is absolutely unnecessary. And it's not just me saying that, that's.
No.
All right, let me stop right there. From what I just gathered you said, Ann, we don't need to make a decision
No.
until October.
We don't.
Yeah,
So we can do more due diligence if we want to and look into it further.
but wait, it's not, no, that's
Can I
not the
talk
case.
now?
No,
Because I'm the
let me
financial-
finish. Yeah, and I'm the lawyer, and I've
It's
seen
different.
this stuff. So
And we've used them
And
3
already-
times before.
already, I see this stuff. I sent an email at the last meeting to John Drakewitz, our bond counsel, talking about this bond for the sewer utility. Next thing you know, it's Ann's, oh, I'm gonna have Phoenix Capital. We gotta have these guys involved. We gotta have those guys involved. I'm like, why? They have no involvement in this. This, to me, is just, you're directing municipal resources to your pet
Oh, really?
contractor, and that to
You are
me is wrong.
wrong. I
That's
have
what's
no
going
reason,
on.
let me talk now. I have no reason to overspend money here. Absolutely
Well,
not.
you are.
I am not.
I would like to see a accounting of
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I'd love to see
what we
that.
could save by going with them versus letting.
Nothing.
Well,
Don't spend money.
no, stop. Now it's my turn,
Yeah,
okay?
let her talk.
We're gonna get a bond. Listen, you can do whatever the hell you want, but these guys
Now, listen,
design.
let's keep it
I
simple.
just had it because I gotta be honest with you, I'm the CFO here. I'm not here to waste your money or your time. I drove an hour and a half to get here to talk about it.
And I appreciate you coming.
I know that. So, I mean, you said that to me. You know what? You do whatever you think is best. But for me, I'm not recommending spending $10,000 for just nothing. And it goes against your capital. It does not go against anything else. It doesn't go into your current fund. It goes against the current capital. I speak to John all the time, spoke to him today. We've always been a team. He said something else to me. I did not get what you did. And with all due respect, I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm not here to waste my time.
I've been doing it for
or, you know,
35.
No, I'm a
And
CFO.
guess what? We've never had an advisor here,
They've
and we
been
have the
here
same level
3
of debt now that we've
times.
always had.
3
And
times.
here's my
I don't want her to
suggestion.
quit. I'm sorry they've been here before.
No, they've not. That's not accurate. What they have been
It is
here
accurate.
is for $800 a year as our compliance officer.
Sure.
That's what they've been generally in the past. And my suggestion is simply this. Don't take my word for it. We have the time.
That's what I'm trying to get at. We don't have to do it until October.
Have John Drakewitz come in here and give his.
I would like,
Have somebody from Phoenix.
I would like to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Exactly.
How about these people?
I said, have them both come in, make the pitch.
I'll listen to both of them.
I think you should.
But like I said, if we don't have to make a decision
That's what I'm saying.
until October, there's no sense pissing and moaning here back and forth, getting in a
Agreed.
fight. If we can have it right from the horse's mouth, council can listen, assess what we think, and then make a
That's
decision.
what I think we should do. But in the meantime, we are going to issue more notes, which cost money. And what we're trying, every 6 months, because we can't sell these notes anymore. We used to sell them to Freehold, any town, they can buy it, but we can't do that anymore. They just don't buy it anymore.
And this is all debt that we've already accrued. It's not debt that we're anticipating to spend later. This is already debt that's on our back.
Yeah, mostly spent. So we have to permanently finance. This came before me, and actually you had to do this, I believe. I didn't look at the ordinance myself. But in all due respect, I mean,
I would like to just see what we're financing, what this debt was. Like an accounting of, not every line, but, 50,000 for this, 100,000 for that. Are we consolidating anything?
this is the last of your debt that you have, that's an ordinance. Everything else we've been trying to fund through cash. So you see that capital improvement fund that you've been doing, a couple 100,000 a year, we've been putting that away. But I believe this was mainly for doing roads. And roads, you can't put money enough away for that, most of the time.
And what I don't understand, Ann, when I started here, we had enough money in our budgets. Am I right, Jeff? We had enough in our budgets to cover our road repairs out of each year. We never financed our road repairs.
Not for the last 9 years.
Yeah, well, you went.
You bonded for tar and chip the last time, and I had zero money. I had $10,000 last year for road,
Yeah,
and I could use that in a half a day.
No, I know, you could, but what I'm saying is, how long have we been doing it that way? You're saying the last 9 years we've been doing it that way?
Well, the last 4 years, I haven't had nothing.
Right, but I'm
Well,
saying, when
before
I
that-
started on council, I can remember we had a line item of almost $150,000 or more
We
for
did.
tar and chip and road repair right out of the budget.
Yep.
Yep.
But our budgets got so tight with everything else going up, that's where we,
We always got cut.
right.
well, the part of the problem was that the zero, I believe we had a bunch of zeros.
I was gonna say, we had no tax.
Yeah, tax.
The whole idea
That'll
is
do
to keep
it.
the budget
Right,
flat.
right,
So
right.
you get cut.
He's right.
And you pay the piper down the road.
No, I know, we're making up for it now.
Yeah, and that's part of what you do. And we can do a couple of things. You can do an ordinance to do some road repair, get some money in here, and pay it off, like we do with the notes. You don't have to necessarily permanently fine. It costs money to get a bond. It just costs money.
No,
Yeah,
I understand, but if we lump them together and do a bond, we could probably get a better rate
yes.
and stretch it out over a longer period of time, like we did with our farmland preservation money. Some of that was probably 20 years of that.
Yeah.
And that's actually starting to come down. The last payment, I think, is this year on that.
Yeah, I know that. That's part of the reason why we were talking about permanently financing, these.
But we have gone to permanent financing before. That's just my point. Again, I don't want to belabor it. And I think, again, you can hear from John, you can hear from whoever feels advisors, but again, our permanent bond for us is $2 or $3 or $4 million. We don't need $10,000 worth of advisors to tell us whether to do that. You can search the market. John Dragowitz has done permanent financing for us before.
And
It's
so
just
did
very,
Phoenix.
it's very
Well,
simple.
So did Phoenix.
It's a-
Can I
It's a
just
waste of
say
time.
something to
It's a
you?
complete waste of
So right now, it isn't a waste. I'm not here to waste money or time. $2.7 million in bonds, of which is gonna cost you $670,000 in interest. Not having the right people will cost you a lot more. And the whole idea is to get a rating and to get this low as we can, okay? That's my goal here. I'm not here to spend money, but if you're looking at $667,000 in interest.
Can you facilitate having both of those entities come and talk to us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
All right, and we're gonna leave it at that. We're gonna remove that last resolution then, I believe.
Yeah, because you already agreed to let them they do the advice already, they do it in compliance. And we already passed both of that, but I thought I would put something into,
Yeah.
after we spoke last time.
I just feel like I'd like council to hear it from both, and then we can make an educated decision. All right, anything else on the budget then, Ann?
No, not right now, thank you.
I mean, from what you're telling us, it could, I hate to use this, but it could be worse. We're not in a terrible way, in other words.
I don't think so, I just hope, there's one thing with these shared courts, I have to straighten out. There's something, there's 3 courts involved, and I want to make sure that those financing is correct. I think something didn't go right in 24, so I'll know that on Monday.
All
I
right,
sent them all my
So
data.
24 would have just been Greenwich though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we have Greenwich and Lopac.
well,
Low back came on at the end of the year.
Yeah, end of the year, but still you would be, and screw up at the end of the year,
They don't have true ups.
or whatever,
Yeah,
whatever.
Greenwich is the only one. And that's when Shannon Quick, I think, sent an email asking for some backup.
Yes, but they already sent it to them, I believe.
They did, that was my question.
Yeah.
All right, and why I have you in, how did you shake out with, Lori Drake at Martin Associates?
I just pulled I have it all done. I just pulled the last, statement, March, and that's when I'm gonna set everything. And she
Okay.
knows already.
Okay.
The Q's is also asking.
She was rather testy on the phone when I talked to
Well,
her,
she
but,
wasn't wrong, really. I mean, she hadn't gotten any statement, plus all the charges for Larkin was charged to the wrong account for 3 years. So I went back and changed all that, I charged it to their escrow, and that's what took some time at the end of the year. So, now they have a complete accounting of everything. And, I just wanted to check their balances, and I don't get the statement in the mail, so I pulled that today. They should be able to send it by the end of the week.
okay,
Yep,
very good, thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to, engineers report, what do you have for us, Wayne?
Sure, so, just kind of touch on the new ones, where there's updates, but, Pershing Avenue, we're still hoping that they're gonna be paving here in the next 2 weeks. I believe their bill, for their initial payment was on the agenda tonight, hopefully, they're looking for that, but that'll be the last step in getting that repaired. On Ohio Avenue, I think we're looking at about 30 days before that work, commences. They've done their markouts, right now they're just kind of waiting for this concrete bridge to be cast, and then once that's ready, that work should begin. Park and Recreation, I think you saw the email, no funding was awarded in 2025. My thought on that is probably because we have 2023 and 2024 still standing out there, that they're not going to give us any more until we close out grants. For 2024, we were involved in that one. That's the Vangeli Park, which, you know, Kevin talked about, and I would like to hope that if they can wrap this up here in the next, you know, month or so, we can submit for reimbursement on that and get that one wrapped up. The 2023 grant, was for the various things at the ball fields. I wasn't really involved in that one. Scott really headed that up. But, you know, I don't think that that's been submitted for the reimbursement. I don't know what the status of it is, but I don't have any of the bills. I don't know what was submitted for. So all of that is on Scott's account. So I think we need to figure out how we're gonna, like, resolve that and just request that reimbursement, so that we don't have, you know, have this issue next year and that we're, you know, we're ready to accept new funds. So again, I'm happy to assist in any way I can, but I wasn't, you know, that wasn't the field itself. I believe that there were ancillary things that were purchased for that, and that's, I think, what we need to come up with the documentation on to, for that.
Yeah, I don't know if anything's been purchased yet. I think that was, I'm trying to get, that's the money you used from, is that a grant that was given, or the money that the?
It's like a
reimbursed?
it's like a reimbursable, but we have a limited period of time, which we're probably coming up on to use it.
Okay.
So, you know, I think we need to get that information over to them
Okay.
on whatever was done with the extent of what, you know, what that was intended for, you know, as soon as possible, because the work, I mean, it should be done. I mean, we've done far more work out of the municipal budget than, you know, the grant amount. So there should be no reason we can't submit, you know, copious amounts of information showing that we've spent way more than the grant to be able to just get those funds back. But, you know, we'd have to, and, you know, again, somebody would have to get the logins for all that so we can, you know, things can be uploaded. Sad to say Pincher's Point is still in DOT review, it's going on months now.
We haven't got reimbursed for that?
No, it's, all the paperwork's in, it's got final reviews, everything, it's just sitting.
That's been done for 6-8 months,
Yeah.
hasn't it?
Yep. Now, obviously, it took a little while after the fact to get all the documentation together from all them, but they've had it now since, like, prior to Christmas. And it's just still sitting and pending. There's nothing needed from us. they've even done their own final inspections, so it's just getting them over the hump.
Is it worth me making some phone calls to some higher ups, or?
I'll check, I'll check with our rep tomorrow, and if it's not moving, then I'll reach out to you to, maybe we can do that.
Call who I need to call if.
Yep. And, there's nothing that should be holding it up. It's done. Last month, we talked about the DPW roof. The real update in that is that we were officially accepted into the ESC co-op. So I sent over the list of items to Jeff, for other things, that now we have a second option that we can price materials out. So we have now 2 co-ops, which may have different pricing, and we can always look for a better deal between them. Costs us nothing to be in there, so it's worth the effort. But the other side of that is, we used their contractor to get a pricing for the roof. I gave you those ranges last time of 70 to 80,000 for the roof, 10 to 30 for the waterproofing on the walls. I think, I don't know how, if that's something you want to proceed with. Do you not like the numbers and do you want to rebid it? I could ask Jeff, do we really need to, do the walls, or is that something we can defer? But, those are the numbers coming back. I don't know how much you're going to save by going out, but, they didn't think that 2 contractors now have looked at this and said, this is not a patch job. It would kind of be a waste of your money to do it for a third of the price when the roof really needs to be replaced. So, it's up to you guys. We can get them to firm up that number in that range, or we can try to bid it. But bidding, if you bid it, you're going to have to get an architect. You're going to spend money getting, things drawn up. And I don't
Spend
think,
a third of that on an architect.
I think you'd spend 5 to 10K doing it, and I don't think you're going to see that in savings. That's the problem.
It's structured, Kevin, it's not just changing the roof filters. I mean, right, am I right in thinking that, Wayne, that it's not just the roof itself that needs to be changed?
They had 2 parts. It was the roof and the wall. Jeff, you met with them. I didn't show up to that. I don't know what they told you in terms of.
Yeah, I think it's the sidewall between the smaller building and the long building. And then on top of that, I think, because the municipality building, if they tear off that roof and the insulation comes with it, that's sprayed on, that's gotta be sprayed again and then painted with some.
I just was asking why we need an architect though.
Well, because you'd have to prepare specs of what it is. Like, they'd have to give you the full list of what materials they're using, what the areas are, what the repairs are gonna be, because we have to, make it all apples to apples of exactly what we're gonna get bid.
Oh, in other words, when the bid goes out for specs to go. with
Right, you gotta
Right.
give them a spec package of what they're doing, whereas with the co-op contractor, he can go up because he's in the co-op and he can say, based on all his other pricing that he's been approved at, this is what I need to do and this is what my costs are. And, the reason we also picked this co-op is because I spoke to Hunterdon County's architect, and he said this is who they're using because they've been giving him better pricing than the bids. So, again, we don't need to make a, firm determination. Now that we're in the co-op, I can go back to him and say, tighten your number up and tell me what the final is, and if you want to look at that, but again, before I did that, I want to see if there's anything else you wanted me to try to explore.
What was the number you had got, Jeff, from the other, didn't you have somebody look at it to do a change out or not?
No, it wasn't a change out, we put a bladder up top.
And how much was that?
That was like 18 or 20.
Yeah, I want to say it was 2025.
And that was a Band-Aid.
Of the band.
Right. He even said he could do it, but it wasn't.
8, 9 years,
Right, he's like, I'll give you a little time, but he said it's.
not fixing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was able to borrow $1,000 right out of the hole.
All right, well, either way, like you said, we're in the co-op, now we've got options, or other options.
We're not under the gun on anything, I'm just, just giving you the options, you can let me know if there's anything you want me to do with it, that's all.
Well, how soon should we get started on this? Is
I mean, the
something
roof's
kicked
leaking.
down?
We're getting out of the, we're in a wet season, but at least it's not winter. But,
It leaks right over.
it's not gonna get, it's just gonna keep getting worse here.
when everything's said and done, we're gonna need an electrician in there.
Yep.
Swap the panel box out, but I won't use the panel box.
I think we ought to act on something.
Well, I mean, there again, Ingrid, we gotta figure out where we're gonna, or how we're gonna pay for it. I mean, it's not like we have the $80,000 sitting in the, and everybody smiles all too glad about borrowing the money, but everybody forgets you gotta pay this money back. Whether it's for 5 years or 10 years.
We don't have capital improvements?
I was thinking we may have the capital improvement money, but I'll check.
Okay.
Yes.
You figure out what our money situation would be for like, and then we'll act after we figure out how we're gonna pay for it, to what extent we wanna do it.
I mean, again, we're not committed.
I would come on the money.
Next year. Said
That's
that.
not, it's not gonna be until next year.
Do you want me to go back to them and at least get the final number now that we're at?
I would just squeeze them as hard as you can squeeze them and see what they, that way we have a realistic idea of what we're gonna need to come up with.
Sure. Okay. Larkin, I mean, we mentioned it before, they're at 3 TCOs, still holding up on the last one. They're getting pretty darn close to their punch list. They got some paving I'm not happy with, and they got their landscaping needs improvement. Those are the main things, but I don't know what the holdup is on the last building. I wonder if it's just, do they not want to pay for it until the other 3 buildings are leased out? I mean, I hear they're at 65%, which tells me they're still 10% short of needing the building. So they're kind of sitting there a little bit on it.
I mean, I can.
I don't know if it's, I drove by there, I don't know, if you're thinking they're at 65% capacity already?
I saw them post online about that yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. Now, that could be people
That's
aren't even
future
moved in, it
committed.
could be people that are committed, but they're not at 75, which tells me that's, that's probably holding up why they don't make the push.
So you haven't gotten a community impact fee on that last building, they don't have a TCO. So that's the chunk coming, they can't really anticipate that in the budget. That's the same.
Here's one that probably upset Ingrid, the River Road Railroad crossing. They were all ready to start this the week of Easter because school's off. The DOT has to design traffic control. They designed the wrong crossing. So everybody waited, got all these documents. They gave him a crossing that has nothing to do with the problem. And, he gave it to me as the final check. I said, this isn't even the project site. So now they have to go back to DOT to have them redesign the correct one, and now this is gonna be delayed this summer. So, it's not the railroad, they were ready to go, but they
I
can't.
mean, they screwed up, it doesn't go to the top of the pot.
You would think, right? The DOT paid somebody to do something wrong, you would think that would move it up, but it didn't. Also on River Road, I mean, we've talked a little bit about the drainage problem we had. So again, the railroad repaired, they put in their new inlet. Jeff recently put the replacement piping in and the restoration. So, other than, I think, Jeff made some suggestions about, ultimately trying to pave around there to solidify it a little bit. I think that one particular area is resolved. And I did bring up that other area you mentioned at the last meeting. And they supposedly were going to take a look about what they had to do over by the fish hatchery. So I haven't seen any changes made, but,
Well, Jeff made it safer, he's got reflectors, things
Okay.
coming up out of the hole, so at least there's a warning that there's a giant hole there, so.
yeah, but, I did notify them of
Thank
that,
you.
and they said they were looking into it. Shimer School, resubmitted in April for completeness yet again. They're getting closer, but they're still not there. I had a call with their engineer today. Still missing like a phase 1 geotech report, and they're gonna be preparing the additional overlapping information. So, I'm thinking they'll be back in May, with a final submission to review that hopefully will be at the point to recommend to the board it could be complete based on what we discussed at the last meeting.
Kevin, did you hear anything from their attorney as far as reducing the numbers or no need for the?
So just for my, this is since we deemed them incomplete, they come back again?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So, they're missing 2 key components at this point. One is a lot of that overlap we requested, so that they understand, he's got a map he's putting together separate for that, just to fulfill that. And then, the geotech one, I just said that that can't be a negotiable.
Wayne, did you,
know.
you just said you had spoke with their engineer. You know, the mayor just asked me that, and I, 2 or 3 different times I've emailed, and I think I've included Jim Kyle, don't know if I've included you, to be honest with you, but about that concept of possibly shrinking that a little bit, because we don't need the COA units. So again, if you're having that conversation, you might want to remind the engineer that we broached that possibility. Probably be better for them to have 100% market unit, but a tad smaller.
Yeah, I mean, there's no money in the
Right,
affordable, so
exactly.
I don't know why you
And-
wouldn't take that out and
So
shrink the
I will
project.
follow up with this too, but since you're having discussions with the engineer, I would just tell him,
Yeah.
hey, and the other thing, to be honest with you, is a little bit smaller footprint might take a lot of the steam out of the local objections to the project. So that was kind of where we were going. If you can talk to the engineer about that, I'll follow up with the attorney and I'll copy you this time.
All right, happy to relay it, not a problem. EAI came back to the board for their 43 units. They were deemed incomplete. I think the main item was the Highlands, which they actually did get a letter from Highlands saying that their consistency is fine where they are. So I have to just do a final review on that, and then we'll probably be looking to bring that back to the board. They're intent on proceeding with the application in spite of, the headwinds.
I mean, do we have to approve it, Wayne, being to add prior approvals for smaller?
I think there's varying opinions on that. I mean, I think, Jim Kyle probably has the best read on what
He
we're
provided
committed to.
detailed analysis on that.
So,
And,
I don't know.
I mean, actually,
yeah.
you may have a better answer on that than I do, Kevin. I don't, some of that's beyond me.
I mean, the answer is they're submitting right now basically a conforming site plan under the ordinance. So the ordinance was put in place, implement settlement, but it's a fractionalized number of units per acre. I forget what number is in the ordinance, but if you, I'm not sure why it is like that, but it permits slightly more
Than what the court
than
said.
what they agreed to reduce it to. So those extra couple of units are contemplated in the ordinance as drafted. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. So it really doesn't have anything to do with the
Court settlement.
the court settlement. It has to do with the fact that our ordinance allows. I did reach out to them, I guess I put them in my report, I called that Len Pagoin, I said, hey, you don't like it? This project is gonna be, I think, and I've had this discussion with Wayne feels the same way, I think Kyle feels the same way as planner. You know, the configuration is not the best in terms of being able to get it to the market and get people to buy these. Everybody wants smaller, wants rentals, wants the stuff at the Larkins building. And I told them, it's already been designated a redevelopment area, which it has. I said, I think you guys would be a lot better off pursuing redevelopment, that would be more of a win-win. But as Wayne just said, and he kind of said to me, I don't know, they're marching down the road with this, so.
And we don't really have any grounds in to deny it.
Well, I'm not gonna say that on the record, I'm not saying we don't have any grounds to deny it, I'm just saying the ordinance would appear on its face to permit the number of extra units, but that doesn't mean that the board's gonna be satisfied with the rest of the plan, and if they don't like it, they don't like it, potentially. So I'm not gonna say on the record the board doesn't have.
Are they applying for a variance?
No.
I think it's relatively conforming.
These are single family homes, right?
No, I mean, the single family hasn't changed. I think it might have even reduced. I mean, the change is like, additional townhouses to
Okay.
densify the site. So they removed the simpler stuff and they went to the density. Yes. Yep. And, again, the thing what was kind of unfortunate is, we tried to squeeze it out with, keeping their impervious that they couldn't increase it. And instead of doing, what I would have thought would be the responsible thing is, okay, let us reduce our number to get back to what we had to. All they did was shrink all the single-family homes, which is really detrimental to the single-family homes, and they use that as the mechanism to get themselves under rather than sacrifice a few additional units.
Again, that goes that marketability issue I talked about. we've all talked about that, well, that's great, you might be able to conform with the ordinance, but how are you gonna sell it?
Right.
So that was kind of what but
You like low panel.
Right, and now you have all these homeowners who could buy these things. They're gonna be, incurring costs every time they wanna put an addition on their home, or put a deck,
in my
or a pool.
In my opinion, chances are, after we're dead, we're still gonna be talking about building that. It's just- Frankly, it's just the history of it, and the way these guys are doing this,
Yeah.
nothing's gonna.
They've actually started moving dirt.
Well, I would say
haven't
that they actually,
Yeah, I saw some.
they removed, they had a wetland on the property, the permit was expiring this month. They actually went out there, got the permits for all the other agencies, and I was watching like a hawk. I was hoping one extra day would pass and I could call them in on it, but they did the work, they got soil conservation permits, they did everything. So, they seem intent to move, otherwise why would you do that?
Right.
But the wetland is gone, so. Two last ones, sewer capacity, as Ann mentioned, I forwarded to Wanda as well, I provided the I&I proposals. One was ours, which is kind of the start to finish and includes the costs for hiring the camera company and everything to do that aspect of it. The other secondary one, which is a larger number, is once you do that, then how much lining do you have to do? And that's where the heavy cost comes in. And what I provided in that is what we think is the worst case scenario, because let's just assume the entire length that we're studying has to be relined, that's what that number is. All we can do at this point is hope that when you do the first phase, you realize it's not as bad as it seems, but we have no way of knowing. So again, that's what we gave you, is the full breadth of that. So, again, I forward that to Wanda. It's probably something to just think about and read through for the next month and just see what's included there. And the last one, just MS4 compliance. We went through that presentation earlier, which is just checking off another one of our boxes with both the Highlands and the DEP. So we're about halfway through that Highlands grant at that point. We're going to start, we can't request reimbursement until we finish individual tasks. So basically, we're just trying to check these off over the next 6-8 months. And then we can take our bills and then submit them to Highlands and get the reimbursement money for that grant. And then along with that, we've just this month submitted our yearly reporting to DEP, and it has no errors in the submission, which means that we're not raising a red flag at the moment. I would say I've been hearing from engineers in Hunterdon County that they're all starting to get their audits from the DEP. So people coming in, going through everything, start dinging for their violations. I would expect that if they're going to hit this year, chances are we're probably looking at one in the near future. So, we have the deficiencies we've always known about, and that is what it is. But, we had our conversation last time about the brush and all that. I just think, we've made a decision to reopen it, and that's fine. But we might want to start thinking about what the more permanent solution might be, because, you're right, you're not going to get a fine the first time they come. You're probably not. But if you don't have a solution start to line up, you will risk it at some point. So, that's all I have.
All right, thanks, Wayne. Moving on to council reports. Councilman?
I must have missed the boat somehow. I don't have an actual report. But I had just a conversation with Jeff a short while ago this month. And we just talked about what Wayne just talked about. Oh, looks like a report just showed up. My ship has come in. But I mean, we did talk a little bit about that. I just confirmed to Jeff that in the meeting where you were incapacitated, we did bring that up and kind of kick around his thoughts on it, and came up with the direction that Wayne just expressed for the time being. So basically, other than that, for the month, checked all township roads each day, checked park garage weekly, conduct yard maintenance, clean and check drainage throughout township numerous times after rains, picked up roadside garbage on Overly Road, cut up and chipped trees that came down across roadways on Mellick's Wood and River Roads, opened up brush drop-off area for residents, rolled all township fields and Pohatcong school fields, picked up 3 loads of infield mix from Beam Clay and took to Crestwood Park and Warren Glen Park for baseball and softball for the town rec, repainted all railroad crossings on River Road and near mile marker 44, installed high visibility markers near Storm Inlet on River Road, dug out old cross over pipe on River Road and replaced with new 18-inch by 40 smoothbore plastic pipe. Backfilled the outlet side of the pipe with riprap stone and gabion stone where the river embankment washed out. Dugout formed and poured 3 sides of catch basin number 76 on Russell Avenue, which was starting to collapse. Serviced a DPW roadside mower and pickup truck, 15. Had 2 tires put on the backhoe. Serviced and replaced coil pack and number 6 injector on police vehicle 75-18. Replaced blower motor and resistor on police vehicle 75-13. Replaced front calipers, brakes, and rotors on police vehicle 75-15. And a note to request to talk about a lease purchase of a full-size 4x4 dump truck to replace the DPW truck that the floorboards are rotted out in. Jeff, spoke to Colin Kane with Gabriel Truck, and who said he could order the truck that Jeff spec'd out now, and could have the truck in December for this winter, and payments for truck would start after the truck is delivered to us. First payment wouldn't be until December of 2026. The payments would be about $47,000 a year, and the next note item is to have a discussion on the brush drop-off area. Before we go on, did I miss or jumble anything regarding the Gabriel truck?
No.
Okay. That's it.
What did you want to further discuss on the brush dump, Jeff?
Kind of what me and you had talked about, discussed that right out back from vacation, and I talked to Nelson about it. I don't want to close the brush dump. I don't want anybody to think that that's, again, we're not in compliance. And I don't think we ever will be by keeping it on our property back here. But if we can shore up some things, we can at least beg for some forgiveness if somebody comes in.
Right, I know just what you're saying.
You
You
know what I
think if
mean?
we left the leaves and the grass out of it and kept it to strictly tree limbs and shrubs and stuff like that, we would be closer.
How many feet away from the stream does it have to be?
300 feet probably.
Can't be anywhere near it, Class 1.
No, but there's gotta be a distance. You can't just say there's anywhere near, because you're 5 miles away. So, I mean, there's gotta be a,
Our problem, Kevin, is everything funnels there. So whatever we have for leachate goes there. There's no other place for it to go.
Right.
I could take that and go down to the culvert.
It's not
in
a,
the creek.
it's not like a distance thing per se, right? The normal, it's T1 stream, anything is supposed to be regulated within 300 feet, but it's the leachate is the problem. So it's like if you're in these
The context of my
proximities.
question is alternate locations.
Mhm.
That's what I'm trying to think of. I've been trying to figure out where we may be able to do some alternate approach. So I'm trying to understand, you know, if there has to be a certain distance from the stream because of the leachate, and they say that it's gotta be 300 feet or half a mile, I don't know. That's what I'm just trying to figure out. And as we heard from the presentation earlier today by Stephanie, you know, we've got all of these, you know, 4 category streams here and rivers that we're having to deal with, plus other freshwater ponds and such. So I'm trying to figure out where, and appreciating that we got limited town property. And I know, Kevin, you were gonna look into the properties that got foreclosed on and stuff, the liens. But to see what alternatives we may have, even if we have to break it up. If we, you know, for example, if grass and leaves are the problem, if we have a secondary location that may be smaller in nature, because I don't know, what percent of that is grass and leaves?
It depends on what time of year.
Right.
Like right now, they're bringing everything and anything down there. I got bags sitting in there that we tore out of there.
Yeah,
That's how bad it's getting, and it's never been that way.
yeah.
And the thing is, no matter where we put it, even if we're farther enough away from the stream, we're still gonna have to monitor who's using it and what they're bringing. And that's where it comes into the problem. If we send it off-site, there's not gonna be anybody there to monitor. We're not gonna pay one of our guys to sit up at Crestfield or Crestwood every day to see who's bringing in what. Am I right, Jeff?
Yeah.
It's just logistically impossible.
Well, cameras, right? We talked about some,
Yeah, but it's still, you catch them, but the stuff, you're still gonna have to deal with material they brought in.
The other thing I thought too is we talked about, well, one of Ingrid's projects as well, it's been on hold a little bit, but I think I said last meeting that the STIP has been filed, the Greek litigation that National Realty filed against the approval of land use board issue for that warehouse, that's been resolved, that's settled, done. So at some point, I'm assuming, again, they too might be proceeding final, they might have to come in final, don't they, Kevin?
Yes.
So, you know, when there may become an opportunity when, as that gets going, to, you know, they were talking about, kind of interested in donating that, some parcel of property, acreage with that
right.
old house. And that's pretty central to everybody. I mean, I think that can make a nice yard maybe for Jeff up there. And then the other nice part about that is we're exempt from subdivision. So we could turn around and, you know, donate just the house part if we wanted to the Historical Society. Now you got a little bit for a yard, you got, you know, you got this over here, it's preserved, we can think it's preservable. I know Steve always had questions on that. You know, so that's another, and it's pretty centrally located for most people.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking about that, and that's not too far away. So we can Band-Aid it a little bit, get that donation at some point, which I think they were pretty willing to do.
Yeah, no.
They just, you know, they're not gonna give us a ton of money with it, but that's okay. The property has, you know, just the location has value. You know, Jeff, do you think that'd be a viable spot? We can get a hold of that? I don't know.
Yeah, but is that in,
I mean, that's way away from streams and everything.
I know, but is that under,
That's in the planning area, not the preservation.
Yeah, no, we're good.
We would, and I bet you, if you told the Highlands that you were pulling this thing out of here and moving it
Oh,
over
they'd love
there,
it.
they have nothing to object to.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, it's actually,
That's a great idea.
trying to think of Highland, my mind was blank.
so I'll follow up with Mark Pack and find out what they think the timeframe is. See, they just,
I spoke to one of the,
yeah, what that's,
they told me not, they didn't anticipate on doing anything till spring of 2026.
oh,
That was from Alex Montek, or one of the real estate people that was involved. I've got it in my emails.
I mean, listen, if they're comfortable, I just don't want them to, like, if they donated a piece now, I think my concern for them would be if it theoretically changes their FARs and everything.
Right.
They're using it for lake. So as
So
soon
they
as
were right on the edge of the
Right,
impervious.
so as soon as they draw a permit,
That would
lock
be the
that
time,
in,
right?
then
Right.
they could make a donation, it seems to me.
He had said something about they wanted to, something about the bank and financing. They didn't want to carve it out until after the bank and
Oh, that makes
finance.
sense.
I think something along those lines.
I mean, that's still not that far away, to be honest with you. So, keep that percolating in the back of your mind, I think that'd be a good location. There's no water near that.
No, absolutely no. All right.
Let me just detail on this banana thing. When the historic commission met, Michael Margulies had a question that he asked me to bring this. We've asked the zoning officer in the past to require Creek to put a retard over the house. Because he says, Ingrid, we have this ordinance that you cannot allow demolition by neglect. However, our former director interceded and told the zoning officer not to, because in the past, we did not require previous owner of the property to do that.
I would guarantee that does. I
So-
can certainly ask him to get a card.
Yeah,
Of course.
as soon as possible, because we do have that ordinance,
Okay.
and we would be glad to
I mean, it's,
be there.
I was actually, yeah, I was gonna say,
We've had the
our
same-
property maintenance ordinance does cover that piece.
We've had trouble enforcing the same
Yeah.
thing at down to the winery as well.
Well, you got,
It's right through his roof too.
this is a reasonably deep pocket. I can't-
Right,
can't
now I-
Actually can't throw a tarp on it. So I will follow up on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Nelson, anything else?
What, no, nothing else except, I don't know if you want to touch upon the truck issue now, or revisit that, if this is something for the winter. I don't want to, just wanted to bring it up because it's in Jeff's notes here. And I don't know if we, want to take that up now or consider it further down the road.
What's your thoughts on it, Ann?
Well, it's a national co-op, so we have to award a co-op contract, and through a lease agreement. I think it's a good idea. I'd like to see what the cash flow is, but at $47,000 a year. Am I right, Joe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 years, 6 years?
I mean, is this, you think that's
I want to
The
look
price
at
would go up if you wanna go, that was for 7 years.
7 years.
7 years. I just want to see that.
know which kind.
And the life expectancy on the truck, 15?
Please.
Yeah, we know we can't go 20, 21, 23.
I mean, what's the one we're replacing?
2003.
All right, so we got 22 out of it.
Yeah.
The only reason is, if we can get this ordered, they can have it for me by December or January. You don't make a payment, they can push that first payment back 1 year from the date of delivery. And that would guarantee us that truck for this winter.
What's that, Ann?
I don't think I would push the payment.
No, I don't see the point either. You're just kicking the can down the road then.
Right, and I'd like to just see the whole thing, what 5 years is, what 7 years is, and but I think we can, see if we can make that work. I mean, I think it's important, we're gonna have to, and I'm wondering if I can pull out of, some capital improvement money, so they get those.
What are you gonna do with the old truck, Jeff? Get rid of it, I hope?
Try to, yeah.
You have to auction
I mean, you gotta do something with it. Nobody wanted to try to fix the floorboard.
That just kills me that nobody wants to.
And I have a quick question on it.
Yeah.
Since the community impact fee is clearly established by the redevelopment agreement, it's a signed, done deal delivered contract.
it, right?
We know what the amount of payments are gonna be, because each unit is identical, so we've gotten through, we have that one left over.
Yeah.
If Jen could give you what she anticipates assessing that, could you, anticipate that funds in our budget, you think?
No, but it's a good idea.
Could we do
No.
a special if we get the money in or not?
Well, what would happen?
I'm just trying to figure out a way to spend it this year potentially on that truck.
Well, I think that we already have those couple of impact fees that
Yeah.
drop to the bottom line right now. They drop
Oh,
to.
you do? Oh, you-
So I could,
You're dropping them into surplus basically?
yeah, you mentioned it last time,
Okay.
instead of putting it in sewer, it's up to, everybody, what you want to do with that.
Yeah.
But I think that if we lease it, or we do Sourcewell and have a finance agreement, that saves a lot of money. I don't have to go and get a bond and all
Right.
that stuff, so
Right, by financing it through the people we're buying it from.
much better idea. I just want to see what they mean by stretching it out and how much they're going to charge, so we'll come up with the exact right amount.
You get the documents to Ann, and
I'm
then,
over next door, I can give them to her tonight.
Yeah,
all right.
I have to do some more stuff.
And Jack, if we do it by next meeting, we'll still be due by December?
I'm hoping you guys can try to make a decision, yeah, because May would be for me to tell Colin, hey, okay, but they won't take that order until I have a PO.
Right.
Or the okay from you guys to say, here it is, Sourcewell's gonna do it. Truck, body, plow, whole 9 yards, and it's ready to go.
and it was like 260 and change, or
I don't, heat.
or 280 and change?
254, and change.
And that was completely outfitted.
Yeah, but there might be a little bit more in that when I go and look at it as far as where I want stuff in the truck, you know what I mean? Nothing as far as like another $15,000, $10,000.
And you can't reuse, or you don't want to reuse the plow from the other truck?
I can, but there's a lot of playing. I'm not getting rid of that one. By no means. Because we don't have enough, you know what I mean?
You review it, Ann, with him, and if you feel it's a sound deal, by next meeting, we'll take action. But I
Yeah,
want
we're
Ann
gonna
to
have
make
to-
sure it's
Yeah.
feasible.
We'll have to award it to a co-op. That's basically it.
Is it which co-op is it,
It's
Jeff?
a Sourcewell, it's a national.
Is it going out of Texas? Because we joined that one a while ago.
Yeah, no,
No?
this is like national.
National.
And everybody buys their trucks from Sourcewell. Pretty much. Right, Jeff?
Well,
That's
If you remember, I tried
We're
working
not
with the
members now,
back.
and we're not members now?
Not yet, no.
Why don't we add to the motions calendar tonight, a motion to join that co-op, and then that's done.
That part is done.
That part will be done.
Great idea.
What is it, Sourcewell?
Sourcewell.
The Source, want a motion to join, to authorize our DPW director and you, whatever, to join that Sourcewell co-op, so that process, because there's paperwork for that, as Ann did say.
Chief,
So
what
that-
you have for the police car?
Municipal finance,
Yeah,
municipal finance,
they were leased, but they were.
Allentown,
I didn't know if you guys had source one.
Only
No.
because it's the national, it's a little bit, but it's fine. We'll do it now and then we'll put a resolution together.
You remember, Mayor, we were gonna do that with the backhoe when we got it, and then you guys decided on paying for it. I forget who the CFO at that time was. Honestly,
Yeah, I don't know, that's been 2-3 years ago, wasn't it?
And now?
Backhoe to 2020 already.
Yeah, okay.
49.
Yeah, it was,
The peeler, Joe.
the girl from up in Sussex, the redhead, what was her name?
Yeah.
Then out, that's it.
And Joe.
All right, so we'll take action, you guys get together and then we'll make a decision. All right, Ingrid, what do you have for us?
Nothing that I haven't already covered.
Okay? Kevin?
I will take Councilman Weaver's time.
You don't, I will, because I gotta file stuff too.
So, a few things, well, first of all, the land use board hasn't met since our last meeting, so no update there, outside of the heads up that our engineer provided. For the courts, a few things for the court reports, we'll start there. In the month of March, Greenwich had 323 traffic charges added, 289 disposed, 31 criminal charges added, 24 disposed. The municipal treasury took in $9,824.78 for a year-to-date of $25,351.22. For Cohat, 165 traffic charges added, 191 disposed, 31 criminal cases added, and 24 disposed. Cohat Court municipal deposit was $6,025.08. Year-to-date is $91.93. And for the Lopat Court, they had 137 charges added, 152 disposed, 16 criminal cases added and 12 disposed for municipal deposit of $7,566.75 for their year-to-date of $21,156.72. Additionally, for the court, I don't know if I provided that update yet. The mayor, myself, Judge Mellinger, and Kristen Glinka, who's our new administrator, we're looking for a new deputy administrator. So Chris, our deputy administrator, is retired, or in the process of
I
retiring.
think Friday is the last day.
And so thank you, Chris and Ethos, for your service to the township. And we did interview a number of qualified candidates. At the end of the day, an offer was made. I think we actually had this on the agenda last time, to Andy Dorcas, who will take over as the new deputy administrator. On top of that, also want to call out that the mayor and myself had an opportunity on Saturday evening to attend the fire department banquet. It was a good time celebrating the firemen, and as well as some of the dinner thanking for the municipal aid groups, as well as the ladies auxiliary that supports that. So really thankful for their continued service to the community, and looking forward to seeing them next year. And I will let the mayor talk about the Easter egg. So I will conclude my report.
Thanks, Kevin. John?
Give me my time, to you, Mayor. I'm good tonight.
Sounds all right to me. There's a few different things. We talked about some of these things already. Yeah, you can bug out
That's
here.
what I wanted to just look away, and I have to get stuff from Jeff.
I think Jeff just went out to get it probably.
Thank
But
you.
either way, you don't have to stay in whenever you
I just have
wanna.
a question here. Can I ask-
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so there's a few things I've got. I got one request from a resident on Melix Woods Road for some streetlights. And I was gonna take a ride through there to see what it looks like, but my feeling is, unless it's an intersection or a dangerous area, I don't think streetlights are the answer. I don't know. Have you been down Melix Woods? Is it just,
At night, it's been a while for myself. Again, we talked about it briefly. If it's a complaint that they want lights near their house or walking at night,
I don't think
it's not
that's
gonna
it.
benefit the town.
Right, I don't see it.
Him just being able to see while he's walking his dog. I mean, we discussed, Shimer Manor, Parkside. It's not like there's streetlights throughout every road. They're at the intersections. For safety reasons.
Right.
I'll ask Gorham, I'll ask everyone on a rural street.
Yeah, because then, so everybody's gonna want a streetlight
I
now.
walk my
because
dog too.
We're trying to satisfy individuals instead of the community as a whole.
I mean, it's a rural community to start with. I don't,
And there hasn't been any safety issues
No.
on Melix Road.
But is there a light that's out there? Because I think that's what the gentleman said.
Was there a light there?
He said there was a pole there that doesn't have a light.
right.
And then he
There's
wanted
a
another
pole.
one,
Just 'cause
too.
there's a pole there doesn't mean it should have a light.
We'll double check and make sure, because if it's a matter of a bulb being burned.
Yeah,
we'll
then
contact
take that,
you.
yeah.
You know, come out and fix it.
I think he wanted that and another one,
Okay,
is the way I understood it.
that'll get taken care of if that's the issue for that, but as far as an additional lighting goes, I don't see the.
Yeah, I don't either. You see, and if it's a light bulb out, either you guys or I'll contact
Because
you.
our guys report them on a periodic, on a regular basis when they're driving around at night. But he's got to remember too that there's variations of lights. Some are spot, some are continuous, some are only partial, so if it's not needed on a continuous or spot on, then maybe it's not lit for that purpose. That's, we could look into it with JCP, now it's not a problem.
All right. As Councilman Melvin said, I attended our annual egg hunt. It was the 5th, right, Chief?
Correct.
And it was very well attended, even though the weather was very uncooperative. It was cold, damp, rainy, but the kids all had smiles on their faces. What do you think, 250, 200 kids, maybe not quite that many?
At least
150?
150, 200 kids.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I felt it was well attended.
Especially dealing with the weather, yes.
You guys had plenty of prizes, you had stuff left, which was good.
Yep.
Very grateful to the Walmart for all their donations. I also attended, and Ingrid, you're gonna have to help me with what day it was. We went up to the Shimer Mansion.
Friday, the 11th.
It's the 11th at 4 o'clock.
Yes, all right. I met with, and Ingrid was there as well, Michael Margulies and all 3 county commissioners, and their, what was he, the photo op guy?
Yes, Chris Allen, their manager.
Okay. Anyhow, we they accepted a donation from the county for $117,000 for restoration and repairs for the Shimer Mansion.
Correct.
I got a good tour of it, and as I said to Michael, I can remember when the Carpenters still lived there. I was in the house myself, probably in my 20s, and it's a very, very neat house, very majestic. You get up on that third floor, you can see all the way down South Main Street, all the way down to Applegate, where Applegate's used to be, and then you can see over to Logan Street Hill. It's just a neat, neat house. Location, location, location. I hope Michael can put that money to work and do what he wants to do to help restore and maintain it.
He's got a great Gantt chart that he's working on.
All right.
Nice.
But we had a good photo op there with the commissioners. It was a good day.
And they're going to be featuring elements of Shimer Mansion and its history on their website for the big anniversary celebration that's coming up for the county. So Michael Margulies and I are gathering pictures of before and after, like, you know, when we had the giant Olympic swimming pool that was collapsing and so forth, which is just a beautiful green lawn right now. So,
I like the deck upstairs or the roof upstairs. That's where we'd have cocktails.
yes, indeed.
Maybe next year I'll
There's a
bring
safety gate around it.
bring a bottle and we'll have a few shots while we're up
I
there.
think so.
All right, one other issue I had raised by resident Mr. Pamianki. We'd like to see some, well, I didn't quite follow, I'd have to call him, but I got a phone number. Pershing in Sussex, it sounds like they use that as crosscuts from what, St. James to 122, or he's concerned about traffic speeding through on both streets. He lives on the corner, he said.
What were the streets?
Pershing and Sussex.
Yeah, it's probably people trying to, they're saying people are trying to leave like a quick check, I believe.
The problem
Like
used,
March and kind of that.
March Boulevard used to be the problem, because everybody was cutting from St. James Avenue to get to New Brunswick Avenue. A lot of them were employees going to work on Industrial Drive, whether it be for the old Spectre Gas, which is now Lindy,
Beeler or anything
Beeler,
back in there.
Current Transformer, Oliver. We've always had radar details there, the speed trailer has been there, the stop signs have put a big halt to that in town. I believe what you're talking about, at this one specific spot, there may not be a stop sign. So if people are going through that intersection without stopping at the other ones, it may appear to them that they're going a little quicker than they should be. Because there was another issue at the end of Pennsylvania Avenue that we've conducted numerous details on that we got complaints about. But it's another spot at the upper end of Pennsylvania by the old Shimer Mansion where there's no stop sign. So I don't know if they're looking to have stop signs at every single intersection at this point, but I'm not familiar with the name unless it's, I'm not familiar, I didn't get a complaint about it.
But as far as I understand, all the details that we have done on Pennsylvania for those complaints have yielded.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Ryan, I will forward you Mr. Pamianki's phone number
Sure.
and send a guy up and see what he's talking about and see whether it merits
Yep.
additional signage or not.
No problem.
I've talked to Mr. Pamianki on other various things. They're actually nice people, reasonable,
Yeah, no problem.
not, off the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's another thing off the list. We talked about that. One last thing, Wanda had an interested party. Wanda, did he have a cannabis license or was he looking to get one?
He has a location in Egg Harbor. He wants to move here. He was interested in the,
Jim didn't have any issue, it sounded like.
Bill Bandry Law Office and probably those little, he thought the motels with it.
The
But there's
motel
this,
is with it.
Yeah.
they are with it? So that, and I said, I reached out to Kevin to ask him if it would be acceptable because that's a
and Juan and
B2
I
zone
went
or
back-
it's a B, and the ordinance is for
I think our
B3.
Canvas ordinance only included, was it C1 or something?
B3.
B3, the one where the old, Union Bank was.
Right.
Yeah.
You can go there. It-
You do drive-through.
This
It's
is.
a drive-through. Place your order, you don't have to go
This
to
is
the store.
your
We'll
parking all down there.
Man, that's correct.
So,
They'd have to take both buildings down and create a parking,
anyway,
they'd have to create parking.
but if you guys don't have any problem with extending cannabis to that zone, all it is, we can control that right here, because that's in our police power cannabis ordinance. We can just say, yeah, we're setting it to the, what's that, B2, I think, down there, right? But
And that'd be
it-
good for them, for business, huh?
Except for the parking.
Whatever we need to do on our
I
end as
just
a
wanted to make sure you
council.
wanted to do it.
Who, Mego House?
Yeah, right by there.
Cannabis? Is that-
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but they have a problem now.
You got the fun shop. You got the fun shop. The hell?
It's all in a row.
I'll tell you what.
One parking spot takes care of it.
The bagel guy ought to get with this guy and work out a deal for additional parking, personally, but.
Yeah, that would be your biggest concern that I can see.
Right.
I did run up
For
the
them.
poll with Jim Kyle, and if you guys want to just extend cannabis, don't forget, we only have one license, so you're not adding licenses, the ordinance already says it's one in the town for retail. But we didn't include that B3 zone, that's an easy amendment, I can have it here for next meeting if you want.
Do it.
Because he can't really apply for anything unless he's eligible in the ordinance.
Right.
I think the bigger hurdle is gonna be coming to an agreement with Mr. Mandy, because I
Actually, if you guys,
understand.
if you want to move fast, you could add it to the first readings of
Did you even
ordinance.
look at the bank, do we know?
The people with the bank don't wanna do it.
No, they won't sell it.
They don't, everybody wants to buy a property, and the bank doesn't wanna sell the property, they wanna lease it.
If you want to add a first reading.
Yeah, all right.
First reading,
We'll-
title only, motion to extend.
We'll add it as an
cannabis-
ordinance,
Yeah,
yeah,
to extend the cannabis ordinance to B2.
it's B2.
Or B2, excuse me.
B2.
B3 now, we need to extend to include B3.
And I still want the right to decline it, because like I said, somebody wanted to put one in at the
Same ordinance
Bank
still
of,
applies.
Bank of
All kinds
America.
of regulations.
I talked to you about that, right?
Yeah.
We all thought that was not the ideal.
Right.
All right, so we'll add that as an ordinance for first reading by name only.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's about all. I've covered everything that we need to talk about on my aspect.
So, just a quick question on that, are we gonna, think conditional use?
We have a very comprehensive cannabis ordinance.
No, I know, but I'm saying,
Well, this isn't in the zoning ordinance, this is just in the cannabis ordinance.
oh, okay.
I have a question. Did mayor and
No,
council,
And that will be a Jim question at your next board meeting. If you want to also throw some requirements or conditions, since we're going to extend the licensing thing.
Yeah.
That,
Because that may give you a little bit more latitude to get what you want.
problem with that is that becomes a mini master plan, and so you guys just did all that.
Yeah, we did it, yeah.
I wish somebody would go and Dan Roberts to truck stop.
That would be good.
Mr. Mayor, can I just add something?
Absolutely.
Just, I don't know if this is gonna fall under new business or not, but it's just been brought to our attention within the last couple of days. Walmart, their contract with their security services has ceased.
Oh, it has.
Correct. They have
Isn't
no
that,
security.
we have an ordinance that
Correct.
specifically says they have to.
Was that useful, chief? Did you find that ordinance, or, because I heard mixed reviews on it.
It's,
My point being is, if it wasn't helpful to you guys, because it seemed like you guys were getting more work out of having it there than not. And it wasn't
with
really
them
helping.
being
anybody.
there,
Yeah.
the calls for service for shoplifting and whatnot, I mean, they are what they are.
Okay.
It was more of, they're just driving up and
Right.
down, and if they see anything, someone with a flat tire, they call us right away.
So it's increasing your work.
And the biggest part is the tractor trailers. And it's not even that trucks were actually violating anything, it's, as soon as they would pull in, they would approach them, tell them there's no, but, they could be just going into Walmart to get something. And then there would be a confrontation, because they were trying to push the issue, oh, well, I'm just gonna call the police. So, but you guys, the town has the ordinance on them that they have, that on Walmart
Are those,
has to have security.
Chief, do you
Well,
know those,
But if you don't want it, that's an easy one.
those
to get rid
stations
of.
that they have that monitor
Just like
everything?
that.
Correct, that has nothing to do with them.
I know, is that monitored live, or is that just
Yes.
video capture? So in
No,
other
they
words,
can
is there
monitor.
somebody who's gonna say, hey, Pack on police, somebody's murdering somebody in a Walmart parking lot, and this, I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Or is it passive?
That's monitored by Walmart, has nothing to do with security.
Right, but do they have a live person watching that, or do they review them?
No, they'll review them upon request,
Okay.
but if they're not busy, they will review them only on an incident basis. If they're seeing something inside the store, then they'll follow them.
Yeah.
The only, like, they're great cameras, but again, it's more for after the fact, so
Yeah.
Pete, do you have an understanding that their intention right now is not to renew?
this just within this week.
Yeah, we had one officer that talked to them and they said that their contract lapsed and it didn't sound like they had any intention of.
What's your feeling on it, chief? Do we enforce it, or do we just say we don't care?
In my honest opinion, I don't think there is a necessity for it.
Why don't we just leave the ordinance on the books, let it go? If it becomes
If it
something that
becomes
the
an
chief
issue,
says, we can always send them a letter saying, hey,
Yeah,
we need.
and then we can even approach them and just say, hey, listen, you know, you might wanna
Isn't there at
consider.
one point an alternate strategy that we were looking at?
Yeah, but I don't know what it was. Oh,
Why don't we
it was
charge-
a mini station on site or something.
Right.
Oh, I don't
That
remember
would
that.
take care of it.
We're gonna have to deal with that issue.
Chief, was there any, I saw there was some theft lately. Motorbikes got stole up there on Bellis Road in Holland.
You know what, I didn't even,
And
yeah,
then
that was,
Oxford, the same feed come through that some were stolen in Oxford.
I didn't hear about Oxford, I definitely heard about Bellis Road. I'm actually personal friends with, the owner of Hoots, who supplied that video and the still photos. I'm waiting to hear back from him just to see if he has any insight, because he's into motocross, so. I didn't hear about Oxford. To me, that almost looks, I mean, if you look at the picture alone, and this is just me being me, you know, it looks like somebody's taking photos and advertising that they got these really nice motorcycles in their garage, it's right next to the garage door. You know, was it an inside job? I don't know, but I think, in my opinion, it's somebody who knew they were there.
Right.
That's not a random act of theft to steal 2 dirt bikes, have 2 people that know how to ride dirt bikes and get them out of the area.
But it did happen, in other words, it
Correct.
was a for real, and,
Yeah, it did, on Bellis Road, yeah, and they went over the Riddleville Bridge.
right, that's what I had heard, they went
Correct.
down Bellis and then out in the rail.
And they had a car following them, so
Right.
again, this was, I'm
Organized.
not saying an inside job, but they knew the bikes were there.
I mean, if somebody was gonna repo them, they wouldn't break in the repo, right?
No, they can't break into your house,
That's what I
no,
was gonna say, that's,
no. But,
well, either way, just as long as everybody's aware that, you know, this stuff is going on.
Oh, yeah.
Like the chief said, it probably was an inside job.
at least whoever it was, they knew that those bikes were there, they were too prepared. You have somebody driving, 2 guys there, again, that know how to ride dirt bikes, they knew where they were. There was nothing, they
They
literally.
knew where they were going.
They
you
went
know,
in the garage, they took the bikes and then drove them away, yeah, I mean,
Yeah. That was a state game.
yeah, definitely.
All right, that's it for myself. Let's move on to resolutions. We're gonna take and leave the last one off. We have 3. Anybody have any issues with them?
No, I'm moving forward, Mayor.
I'll second.
Okay. Gray?
Yes.
Lazzetti?
Yes.
Melvin?
Yep.
Stillo?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes. Ordinances for first reading, we're going to add an ordinance.
It's going to be an ordinance, Mayor, to amend our cannabis licensing ordinance to extend the permitted zones to the B3 zone.
B2.
Or B2, B10, sorry.
All right, and that'll be on for, second reading
Public
next
hearing
month.
next month.
Yep.
Need motion and a second.
I make the motion that we, amend our cannabis ordinance to include a B2 zone.
Second.
Is that you, John?
Mhm.
Okay. Gray?
Yes.
Lazzetti?
Yes.
Melvin?
Yeah.
Stillo?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes. All right, ordinances for second reading. This is to amend the code of the Township of Cohasset, Warren County, State of New Jersey, to add disabled veterans property tax exemption.
I'll move it forward for, public hearing. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Jen asked for this, just so it clarifies that we're only going back to the date of the application for any exempt status, not further retroactive.
I make a motion to close the public hearing
And
And
adopt.
adopt.
and adopt.
Second, Melvin.
Okay, Gray?
Yes.
Lazzetti?
Yes.
Melvin?
Yep.
Stillo?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes. Motions. We had something we wanted to
We're
add.
joining the Sourcewell Co-op program?
Sourcewell, yes.
I make the motion we join Sourcewell.
I second that motion.
Okay, Gray?
Yes.
Luzetti?
Yes.
Melvin?
Yes.
Stillo?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes. Public comments, I see no public. We need a brief executive session, correct?
Yes.
All right, action will be taken, may be taken.
Will be.
Hopefully, will be.
I can give the itinerary of it, if you want to bug out, Kevin. It's gonna be pretty quick and
Fine by
easy.
me.
We might as well just
Oh, who's making the motion for executive session?
personnel.
Mayor, we also executive.
Yeah, that's all personnel, John?
Post that on.
Okay, can we have a motion for executive
I make a
session?
motion to go into executive session.
We'll stay right here.
And who's the second?
Kevin Melvin.
Okay, and all in favor?
And I think that that's a
Aye.
good move with Walmart, by the way. It shows a good faith effort with them.
Right, and they're making a good investment.
You good?
Now we're back.
Just briefly discuss what actions we're gonna take. We're gonna authorize acting chief Varsity to, put out for 2 recruits at the July 7th at Somerset it is,
Morris County.
or Morris County.
Correct.
And he's also going to look into the ability to pull back Officer Hill. And he's also going to put civil service out for,
Job announcement.
job announcement. That would be that. We're going to advertise for a part-time, right, part-time, Wanda?
Part-time business administrator? Yep.
Business administrator. Salary to be determined, later.
And do we have to hit the,
And to revise the work schedule of Noel Muller, clerk's assistant, from full-time to 15 hours a week.
Do we have to vote on this, Wanda, or we
Yes,
already
you can do all 3 if you want.
do all of them together? All those in favor? Aye.
moving forward, Mayor?
All right. You move it, I'll second it, and then we all voted aye.
Everybody's yes. Okay, thank you.
All right, I thank everybody for staying. It was a long one.
Thank you.